Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks. This is episode 61. It's a Wednesday back at our normal times. My name is Andrea. I am once again joined. Wow, we're doing it again. We're gonna switch names again.
All
We
right.
removed the name
Hi,
banners
everybody.
one time, and I
And you
can't get
don't
my
even
own
know who
name
you
right.
are. Identity
Yep.
crisis. Hi, everybody. I'm John.
Yep. All right. Yes, I'm John, joined by Andrea like normal.
Hello.
Um, And then we also have an extra guest that longtime fans may recognize. Welcome, Phil, to Popcast on the Rocks.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be back. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, you got nice sparkly background this time.
Yes,
That's good.
absolutely. hmm
So here we talk about pop culture things that interest us. We're going to find out what we've been up to this week, along with Phil, and maybe see what he is into. A little bit of news, not a ton, before we get into Castlevania season 4 from Netflix. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. I think Phil is excited to talk about episode 9. We've been hearing
Yes.
about it.
I am fairly excited. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If the number of text messages on my phone are any indication, I'm pretty sure there's some excitement there.
But before we get to that, what's everybody's week been like? Andrea, what'd you keep yourself busy with, other than again keeping the human child alive?
Yes, I'm
Mhm.
I'm 10 for 10, 10 weeks. So, still crushing the parenthood game. But in my, spare time, I am also crushing some Resident Evil game. I've now gotten to the castle in Resident Evil Village, so woo, I'm out of the village. Out of several different, cutscenes that are in there, which I know this isn't our Resident
Mostly.
Evil episode, but I do have to say, just as a side note, I find the cutscenes in Resident Evil Village very tough because like all of a sudden you're just in
Hmm.
one and it doesn't like transition well. Like I'm not
Okay,
aware for several minutes that I'm in a cutscene.
interesting.
I'm still like trying to do things and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right. So I don't need to do anything right here." They're just like,
But that means
no.
it blends well. It's
It does
seamless.
it does blend well, but also at the same time like I'm very concerned that, like there's several cutscenes in the beginning where, you're I don't think this is giving too much away, but the main character that you're playing is injured. And I keep thinking it's something I'm doing. I'm like, oh shit, like, I'm
Mm,
trying to like guard myself or like, get my gun up
right.
or whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is, I guess, supposed to be happening. I don't just like suck at this game.
Sure.
Like it's the cutscene. So, but anyway, that's, more on that in our episode that'll be focusing on Resident Evil Village coming up. But just yeah, that's one of my
Yeah.
early thoughts on the game. Um,
Nice.
other than that, I've been also consuming some, kind of related media. I started watching Netflix's new film Army of the Dead, which
Okay.
is
Mm-hmm.
directed by Zack Snyder. So we were just talking about Justice League, um, and starring Dave Bautista, and it is excellent so far. I'm about halfway
Really?
through, and I really enjoy
Wow.
it. It's
I
like a
wondered.
fun little zombie heist,
hmm
and it's like it's very classic. Like get the team together. We're gonna go rob
hmm
a bank vault in Vegas, but then we're gonna throw
With
in
zombies.
zombies. Yeah,
You've
Nice.
seen it, Phil?
and
No, but I saw the preview and I thought I was intrigued and I thought it could be like really awesome or like fairly terrible. So
yeah.
Sure.
glad to hear it's
So
awesome.
so far, awesome.
Wow.
Dana, for anybody who
Not
doesn't
so
know,
much.
Dana's Phil's wife. Dana would hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it.
A little violent for her.
The level of gore is like
Yeah.
Walking Dead level
Sure.
for
Okay.
sure, if not more.
Yeah. I assumed
Um,
that as much. Yeah.
yeah, but it's
Good
it's
call though.
good so far, and I do have to throw a shout out to Tig Notaro, who is a comedian also cast in the movie, and she was a late addition because the role that she took over, the guy was fired from
Mm.
from the movie, and
Mm.
they weren't able because of COVID to get her into reshooting with the cast. So she reshot all of her scenes, and they CGI inserted her into the film. And so
Oh
she's
man.
Wow.
acting completely solo, like
Wow.
nobody's around her, and she has to do all of this alone. She is killing it. She is
Wow.
amazing.
That's cool.
Huh.
Is it
So
a show, Andrea?
it is a movie.
It's a movie. Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep. So yeah,
Hmm.
so I'm just like insanely impressed with her level of skill, like
Cool.
just acting against nothing. It's
Are you
fantastic.
disappointed that it's a movie, Phil?
No, she just had mentioned she was like halfway through it or making her way through it
Mm.
as if it
Oh,
were a
gotcha.
series or
Yeah.
something. And so I thought it had been a movie when I saw the preview, but then I was
Yes.
doubting. You made me doubt myself. But
Sure. Yep.
you know,
My
when
influence
someone
is
consumes as
strong with
much
this
media
one.
as you do, then I guess movies have to be taken in pieces.
That's right. I'm of the generation where I can watch like, binge watch 4 episodes of a show, but oh my god, watching a movie, I need breaks.
Right.
I never start a movie though if I don't know I'm gonna finish it. I
Wow.
just I never I basically never don't
Well,
finish a
That's
movie
true of
unless it's
new
just like on
movies.
television or something.
Sure. Or a
yeah.
movie you've seen 10 times, like an old
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah, maybe yeah. Like
Well, and I mean, I sat down with the intention to watch it. It's just, when you have a
mhm.
10-week-old, you
Well,
get interruptions
You tell them to go away, be
that you
quiet.
don't.
one
Just shh.
does tend to get, yes, interrupted by
Yes.
infants. Sure.
Right. So, yeah, so
That
I
might be
I
true.
mean, I had planned to sit down, but it is also a 2 hour and 30-40 minutes. So,
Mm.
Alan said there,
Oh, it's
yeah,
pretty
two
long.
and a half
Holy cow.
hours or something.
yeah. So it's very good.
Hmm.
I highly
Cool.
recommend it so far. We'll obviously see, how the rest of it turns out if I keep that recommendation going into next week. But so far so good.
Maybe
Um
Snyder needs to work on just doing television shows. The Snyder Cut clearly is very long, and this is
right.
very
Well, and
long. This
it was meant to be a
miniseries.
television show. Yeah,
So
exactly.
get
So
on that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
it's very classic Snyder. This movie is probably a bit longer than your typical movie. It's got the classic Snyder slow mo going on in it, and he had to do extensive reshooting. So I think that's
Yeah.
all very Snyder
Yeah.
hallmarks.
Hmm.
um, yeah, so I'll be looking forward to finishing that, and then hopefully I can sneak it in before I start watching the final season of Lucifer, which is dropping on Netflix on Friday, and I am pumped about that.
I had thought that was already out. I mean, I just feel like
The
I heard about it quite a while ago, and
Yeah,
then
so
Yeah,
the
it's
final
the same.
season
assumed.
was split into like A and B parts, and so like
Ah,
the final season first part came out a while ago, and now it's like the second half of the final season. So
I see.
yeah, so
Hmm.
this is
Cool.
really really it. I promise. It's now actually going to be over.
Okay. Yeah, I never got into the show. Did you try Lucifer, Phil? No.
I did actually. Oh, maybe 8 months ago or something like that. I just on a whim
Mhm.
tried a couple episodes. It was fine. I think I just didn't. I needed to
It
probably give it more of a shot, honestly.
Yeah, it takes a while to warm up.
Hmm.
I think probably the second season is where it really, really gets good because it starts getting into its own mythology and
Oh, sure.
introduces like, a lot of characters like God.
Hmm.
Um, and then more of Lucifer's brothers and sisters, his mother. So they
Hmm.
have like a whole creation mythology where, God has a wife. So it gets very interesting in the
That's
second
cool.
season.
Okay.
But yeah, it's obviously you got to make it through the first to get to the
Sure.
really good stuff, which is dicey for a TV show to do, but
Hmm.
I like
Speaking
Well,
of really long series that you are close to the end of but can't quite finish up yet,
it.
Dresden Files. Please tell me you're anywhere near being able to read the last two books because of your
uh
husband.
yeah. Yeah, I know. We're not, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway because
I
it's
think you should.
taking way too long to listen to the books. I mean, I
Well,
love it and it's really
sure.
fun to go back.
Yeah,
Um,
you
and
can still
James
do that.
Marsters, Yeah, James Marsters is like a really fun Dresden to listen
For
to.
sure.
Like the
Oh yeah,
audiobooks are excellent. But yeah, it's just
absolutely, no
taking way
question.
too long for us to be in like
Yeah,
the same place at the same time
yeah,
and be able to like have the time to listen to an audiobook. So
I agree.
forget that. It's happening.
Awesome, very exciting. I won't say anything about
Yeah.
it, mostly because you haven't read it, and I don't think anybody else on the show reads them. But
But John, you
Mhm.
should. John,
but you
you
definitely
really
should.
should.
They're
You'd
so
really
good.
enjoy it.
I need to. Is there any like I don't know fan art or some sort of
Yes,
art for
absolutely.
Yeah,
this? Something that
absolutely.
because I'm sold by great art. I come up with
Okay.
like D&D stuff based on art
Oh
and whatever.
sure.
And so
They
right now, just in my head, Dresden
Mhm.
Files doesn't sound great. Like in my head, I'm
it's
thinking, well, it's like Harry Potter
Mm,
and
no.
mm-mm.
it's
No, it's like way better adult Harry Potter.
No.
way
Yeah, it's
better than
like
Harry Potter. Wow. Hmm.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's so
Well,
good.
it's
They
so
do also
different
have
than
a
Harry
graphic
Potter, but
novel.
yes. Yeah. Yeah,
They
they
do have a
did do
graphic
what?
novel.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Stormfront. Would they make a graphic novel of, right, Andrea?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's just Stormfront, the first one.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so
Well,
I'll
that
send
might
you
be
some of that,
interesting
John.
to
Yeah,
like
the
read the graphic novels if it's well done, and maybe that gets a person into it, and then continue on from
yeah.
Mhm.
there. And
For sure. For
Well,
sure.
yeah, it'd be handy obviously since it's the first novel, so it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like
yeah.
you'd be missing anything.
Right.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
yeah, definitely a recommendation to read. My other recommendation to read for the week is a book I finished. It's called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And it's
Mm,
like a mock biography of a 1950s film star and the seven husbands that she marries. And so it's
hmm.
like her life story as told through her seven marriages. It was
Interesting.
really good. It was very fun to kind of look at like 50s and 60s Hollywood
Hmm.
through this lens. And even though it's not like a mystery novel, there was like a kind of like little detective like side detective plot that came
Hmm.
with a twist I was not expecting and was
Okay.
Hmm.
so good. I would not ruin it for anyone because it is excellent. So I highly recommend this book.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's a fiction. It's fiction, though.
Yeah,
Sounds
it
like.
is. Yeah, so Evelyn Hugo is not a real movie star from
Okay.
the 50s.
Okay. Okay.
Um
Okay.
it's all made up, but it's very well done.
Okay.
Is
So,
that a more recent thing, or has it been out for quite a while?
it's more recent.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't remember when it was dropped, but yeah. Let's see. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
2017. Alan beat you to it.
Yep. Oh, Alan. I should
Alan,
have known
that
better.
guy.
I'm never gonna out Google Alan.
No, I don't think that's
He's probably using
possible.
DuckDuckGo or something else.
Right.
Google. Oof. Phil,
So
how about
yeah,
you? Anything
Um,
crazy going on this week? Any amazing pop culture things,
uh,
events?
yeah, I did actually come upon some information, and this may be you guys
Mhm.
may have talked about this, and maybe not, and maybe it's not earlier on your radar, but I just recently found out that they're making Netflix is making a Redwall series and movie.
Really?
Hmm.
Hmm.
So they're making a Redwall TV series. No, wait, making a Redwall movie with an accompanying Martin the Warrior series.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that.
I'm assuming people know Redwall. Like John, you seem
No.
maybe like you're not sure of.
Nope.
Okay.
Iconic series Redwall into TV show film.
Yes.
Redwall Abbey makes its movie debut.
Yes.
It sounds British to me.
I think
Um,
Brian Jakes is British, the author, or he's Irish or Scottish maybe or something.
Ooh.
Andrew, you read them,
But
Alan's
right?
read them all.
yeah,
Okay.
Ellen's read them all. Yes, I have also read them all. Yep.
Okay.
They were so big, like towards
22
the
novels.
end of
Yeah, there's a
elementary
lot.
school kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, into like
Middle
elementary school into middle school.
Yeah.
I actually, after hearing about this, I was so excited. I grabbed a Redwall because I was started thinking about could read this with my girls. They're gonna love it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, my oldest Savannah, for those of you who don't know, she's about to go into kindergarten in the fall. I thought, oh, she's at the age, maybe she can start reading them, or I can read them to her. And so I started
Sure.
reading Redwall, just to see. It's
Sure.
still probably quite too old for her, but
Gotcha.
definitely there's a more like violence that I remembered for like a kindergartner. It'd be more like third, fourth grade probably.
Yeah.
But they hold up. They're good. I mean, they're definitely
Yeah.
like you can tell kids books, but I definitely enjoyable for an adult. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of slowly make my way through them, I think, just for old time's sake.
Nice. Nice.
Interesting.
Even
Probably
though
quick reads then.
Yeah,
no,
I mean they're pretty big books, but they go
I mean,
they
there's
go
Yeah.
22 of
fast.
them, but
they
Right.
go quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're easily, readable.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though my own daughter is 10 weeks old, I have been reading at nap times Harry Potter to her.
Awesome.
And
Yes.
it's just like fun to go back and be like, these are so good. Like, it's
Oh,
obviously more for me than for her. She can just like
yeah.
listen to the sound of my voice. She has no idea what I'm saying, but
you'll get to the point.
fun for me.
She'll just know it by
Maybe you'll-
osmosis by the time she's in a
Yeah, she'll
grade
just
schooler.
yeah.
When she's 11, she'll
Identify with a
actually
specific
be
house. Yeah.
right. She'll actually be waiting for her Hogwarts letter.
Yeah.
And I'll,
Right.
and I'll have to explain. It'll be the worst
Like,
conversation.
look at that muggle over there, Mom. Jeez, come on. Okay.
When are we going to buy my wand?
That's funny. Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah,
maybe you'll
that
get
was
to the
cool.
point though where you're reading them. You're gonna need to read them over and over again, and be like they'll have their favorite parts, and then you'll wish you hadn't been rereading them now.
Right.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Could be. We'll see. I don't think I'm realistically gonna get through 22 books in the next couple of years, but it's my limited reading time. So
Sure.
So you're saying when we were leaving elementary school, this was kind of a hot thing or something?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
6th into 7th, 8th, 9th grade, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the first Redwall came out in '86, so that was like the year I was born. I discovered them when I was probably fourth-ish grade, and then I used to get them. Like I have well probably half the set in hardcover. I used to get them for birthday gifts from relatives and stuff.
Okay, I'm
So,
gonna date myself
yeah.
here. Were they on your accelerated reader list? Did you guys remember accelerated reader?
I mean, I grew up in Superior. We didn't have accelerated reader thing. I mean, it's
Oh
Well-
man, yeah, hick.
So is it the
I'm not sure.
is
Honestly,
it the thing where like we had different programs? Like I know we had a thing where you would get points or something for reading books, and you
Yes.
could spend those points in
Yes.
like on stuff. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you
oh,
would read
like
the book, you would
readathons
like,
and stuff.
well, you would read the book and you would take like a short little quiz to prove that you read it, and then you would get like a certain amount of points, and then you could use those points, like John said, to like spend on things. So like there was incentive for like reading longer books, like I remember like Lord of the Rings, for instance, was worth like 40 points versus like, gosh, like if you read like a comic book or something, it was worth like 5 points. You know what I mean?
Sure.
How many points for Goosebumps books do we think? Because I read the crap out of those all through
Probably
grade
like
school.
10-ish, I would say.
Oh.
Hmm.
Those are
I
fine
mean-
works of literature, so I don't know. That doesn't really track
But
with
they're
me.
they're
But
obviously
okay,
like so much shorter. Like there's less that you would
Sure.
have to keep track of, like versus,
guess. True.
like a
true,
Lord of the
true.
Rings novel, you'd be like,
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so it
ounce
was
of Scholastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Mhm.
I mean,
Stunning-
when I
I
think
don't know.
Scholastic, I think of like the book fairs, but again,
Mhm.
it's probably dating
Right.
myself and all of us by extension. Sorry, guys.
That's
You're
okay.
dating yourself because you read books in school.
Yeah. We had book fairs, and that was a thing.
Back in my day, I had books and I read them. Yeah, I had I spent all my points exclusively on Batman Returns collector's cards. Like they
Mm.
had all this in my mind junk that you could
Mhm.
buy, but then
Yep.
there was this box that was always there of Batman Returns movie cards, and no one else bought them. So I have almost the entire collection of Batman Returns trading cards
That's actually
because
pretty
of that.
cool.
Yeah, I should find like the ones I'm missing and just
Yeah.
complete it because I have
Yeah.
most of
Mhm.
them.
That's
So
cool. That's probably worth something to a collector.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe, but yeah, I can see myself missing out on this because at around that age, I only read Star Wars books. When I was
Sure.
younger, I only read dinosaur books, and then I got a little bit older, and I only read Star Wars books, and basically that's the way it was until
Interesting.
Harry Potter. So
Okay.
And then you only read Harry Potter books.
no, no.
John goes in
No.
very specific phases
Very
with his
specific,
reading.
very rigid phases, very exclusive
Yeah.
phases.
I mean, I did. I mean, not counting comic books, and then my reading diversified but slowed way down. Like definitely
Mm.
during the
Sure.
Star Wars middle
Mhm.
school phase, what would read a lot, and now
Yeah.
I definitely
Sure.
don't read that much. So
Chronicles of Narnia.
no, I think only read
Oh,
part of
John.
one of those. Yeah.
There's so many amazing series you missed out on because you were. I mean, whatever. You can't go back and change time, but you should check out some of those that you missed when, like, in your middle school, junior high ages. Like a
Mhm.
lot of kids that were big readers would have read, and are so good.
Maybe.
They're still you could still enjoy them today, like as an
Yeah.
adult. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I feel very
Yeah.
passionate
Well,
about this,
I don't know
but
if you can see it back there. I have this is my to read like collection,
sure.
and
That's quite a pile. What's on there?
it is not only vertical but also has depth to the stack.
Sure.
So
Give us a
Well,
sampling of what's in
I'm
there.
oh god. Okay, I have
so we
the
want to know.
parasitic mind. Um
Okay. Man, I've
I'm,
created a
I'm
monster.
getting a couple here.
John's weeding out the porn.
those poor novels that are so popular.
Yep, exactly. He's just tossed 50 Shades on the ground.
No, I because we don't talk politics on this podcast, I sort through
Sure.
the some of them. So I have comics like Saga. I was going to
Oh,
ask
I love it.
Phil if you had gotten
Mhm.
further in those or not. The Parasitic Mind, how infectious ideas are killing common sense.
Interesting.
Extraordinary popular delusions and madness of crowds.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
You're like heavily
this
into
one-
psychology right now, basically.
Yeah.
I history and psychology,
Yeah.
philosophy, yeah.
Mhm.
So and Ordinary Men. It's it's about it's this police battalion in Poland, pre-World War II. So
Interesting.
it's not fun stuff most of the time. The last one
No.
I finished was pretty sad. So got to
And
mix
do you
it up.
think
Yeah.
do you think that's why you're not reading very much?
No
Have
kidding.
you
Could
set
be,
yourself
yeah.
very
That's some heavy
depressing
content you're
material?
reading through there, John. Man, pick up some Dresden Files, pick up some,
Yes, break it
Chronicles of
up.
Narnia, or like, yeah, some of that stuff.
Well,
If you
the
read any
comics are
Stephen,
the other stuff. That's
oh
what
sure,
that's what I
yeah,
do.
because Saga's real light reading too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very strange though. Yeah, it's a
It's
trip.
very strange, and it's intense. It's certainly
Ooh.
not like
Alan
lighthearted.
has a good recommendation for you. King Killer Chronicles.
Nice. Unless you want to be
Very
like
good.
bitterly disappointed for years and years because the third book won't come out.
I know, for goodness sake. Ugh.
I actually
See, I
Alan.
feel like
saw.
you recommended this one to me too, Phil. I think
I could
It's
have,
very good.
or Andrea might have. The Wise Man's Fear
Yeah.
and Name of the Wind. Yeah.
Yep. So
I
good.
actually read something on Twitter, so you can take it to the bank. That like his editor like completely outed him on Twitter in like some conversation about how
That's
she hadn't seen a
right.
page of his manuscript for Stone of Doors or the Doors of Stone or whatever. And she doubts that he's even like got any of it done, and she doubts he's ever going to finish it. And people are like, "Whoa!" For one thing, like, not very professional, as he'd be
Yeah.
one of your clients. But also, people were like, "Well, what the hell? Are we ever going to read this book? I mean, is that true? Is it
Right.
ever going to come out?"
Right. I
People,
remember you telling me about this.
yeah, I can't believe that guy even goes on social media, because I think everywhere he goes, anytime he posts something, he gets about 1,000 comments saying like, "Hey, bro, when's that book coming out?" Because
Yeah.
seriously, it's been like 10 years.
Well, I mean, Alan already brought this up, but obviously George R. R. Martin could never step on
Well,
social media because, for God's
no,
sake, people would just like be all over him.
I don't think he's going to finish it at this point.
I'm very scared. Like we've
Did
talked
I?
about
I
this
mean,
before.
We
He's
have.
older. He's not healthy. Like
No,
I'm scared. It's gonna be like
no.
a Robert Jordan
He
situation.
even had a specific afterword in either like A Feast for Crows or Storm of Swords or one of those, Clash of Kings, I think. And
Was that is
he
it that he's
commented,
getting healthy to like
no,
make
he
sure he finished the books?
no. Well, maybe no, I don't think that. He commented like, "I know this took
Okay.
a long time between these books. I promise that next time there'll be
Oh.
shorter intervals between books." And then from then on, they only got longer and longer and
Mhm.
longer. So it's like he's aware of it.
Oh yeah.
I
yeah.
don't know. He probably
No, I
doesn't
can't
care.
remember.
He's super rich now. I don't know.
I can't remember if this was in an interview, but he definitely was like, "Yeah, I'm like exercising and eating right, and
Good.
because I know everybody's so worried about me." And then like 2 interviews later, he was like 20 pounds heavier, and he was like, "Yeah, I tried, guys."
I
I
tried.
was like,
It's
"Oh,
like
great,
no
okay."
matter how healthy you get, you're still this old man,
Right,
and you're
right,
gonna die
exactly.
eventually,
Shit can
buddy. Everyone
happen.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
don't
so
take too
do
long on
you
that book.
think he's just kind of tired of it now? I mean, he's lived it for so long that like he's just not
No,
motivated really to be able to finish it anymore.
I
no, I
think
don't think
series are hard
so.
to finish. Probably they're
They
hard to wrap up.
they
Wouldn't you say those big, huge
Oh,
like fantasy series?
absolutely. Like I'm sure it's like morphed beyond what he originally envisioned, and it
Right.
feels probably, much more laborious to bring it to a
Mm-hmm.
conclusion because it's just
Mm-hmm.
so much larger than life. But I think
Right.
he's also distracted because like HBO has been pulling
Right.
him into writing like this new prequel series that they've got coming out. I
Yeah.
think he's contracted. I don't know if he's contracted to write or if he's producing the
Mm,
other prequel that's coming out.
yeah.
So
Well,
like,
and
not only does he have to contend with like this massive, story that he's
Mm-hmm.
created, he keeps getting
Mm-hmm.
distracted because, of course, this stuff is more immediate than his books.
Right.
yeah.
So,
And I was gonna bring it up, and Alan brought it up here too. Elden Ring is a
mm,
video game that he's
yeah,
working on.
yep,
So he's
Mm,
writing a story
right.
there or whatever his involvement is exactly. And
right,
Mm-hmm.
that to me is maybe like the video game thing was I was thinking is, well, maybe he's really like got himself his mind hooked on something else. You know, when you
hmm
Maybe.
spend decades living whatever world,
Yeah.
like I get it with my D&D campaign, like every once in a while I feel like I need a
S-
break or whatever.
Sure.
And then
yeah,
it takes a minute to get back into it and like get that passion back for
Mm-hmm.
right.
like figuring something out.
Well, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think anybody
Yeah.
would begrudge him like needing a break or just saying like, guys, I need to step away, work on something new, whatever. It's just like stop working
Some
on
people would
four
begrudge
new
him.
things. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I say stop working on four new
Yeah.
things. Like I'm not going to begrudge you
Yeah.
like one because I get it.
Yeah.
As a creator, you do need like a little bit of a pause or a reset or whatever. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's stepping away for a little bit and then there's just like getting completely pulled out of it. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. He needs to drop at
Mm.
least one or two of these projects and get back
Yeah.
to it.
You know,
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna just say, I imagine, people come to you, these HBO executives, these gaming executives, and they're like, "Here's X number, amount of money to like be
Right.
involved in this project," and he's like, "Oh no, guys, really, I can't. I gotta for my fans, I gotta finish the books," and they're like, okay, you're driving a hard bargain, sir. Let's and
Right.
they just keep throwing money, and
Yeah,
it's
I'm
like
sure.
that episode of Friends where they're offering Chandler that promotion to not quit, and he's just like,
Yes.
"No, you stop throwing numbers at me. Stop saying numbers. Stop saying. I'll see you Monday." Like eventually get to the point where they're just like,
Right.
"Yeah, the money's too good." I'm sure that he
Right.
just can't pass those projects up. They just throw money at him. So what are you gonna
Right.
do?
Well, and obviously he's proven his worth in the sense of like, look at how terrible Game of Thrones was without him.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
hmm
look how nobody can do what he can do apparently because the
Right.
last 2 seasons
See, and that's
absolutely
a
sucked.
sign. That's a sign of like how little how far he has to go. Look at all this stuff and how long it took him to do Game of Thrones, the shows. They had plenty of time and stuff. And so for him to not have a better like answer, like in summation of how things go for them to work off of,
Mhm.
really suggests he has very little idea on how this is going to
Well,
wrap up.
yeah, I mean, I do wonder how much of it he had thought of and how much they took or like altered, and then
hmm
how much now he might be thinking like, wow, look how terribly this played with the audience. I have to change
Mm,
this now. like
maybe.
like
Although,
if
yeah.
he thought maybe Bran was going to be king at the end or something, and now he's like,
Whoa,
oh,
ew, I
spoilers,
haven't watched the last
spoilers.
couple seasons.
Oh shit, sorry, Phil. Um,
I'm holding out for the books to come out first. I will not watch beyond the source material.
so the last thing you've known is Jon Snow getting stabbed.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, all right.
What?
Damn.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, we gotta have that
All right,
spoilers sign up
I'll
here.
move.
Just,
Yeah.
careful, Andrea.
Yes, no
all
kidding.
our rate, our viewership just dropped to 0.
That's right. I'm ruining everything.
But
Um,
yeah, and I do wonder if that's what's going on with the King Killer Chronicles too, where it's
sure.
like as far as like him just not feeling confident that he knows how to end it, having like I feel like it's like a writer's block situation. He's not sure where he's going with it. Gotta be. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just finish your book?
Sure.
I would bring in a third party. You know,
Hmm.
you get to that point where it's like you bring in someone else that you maybe enjoy their work, especially when you're a name like this and you get advice, you get rough drafts, you
Yeah.
see where,
Right.
Yeah.
sometimes you don't necessarily see your characters for what they are in a way. And like someone
hmm
else might see something logical that it would be their next move or the next
hmm
play that you didn't. And
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
hmm
Mhm.
hmm Okay.
But
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
smart idea.
Whatever it takes, Patrick
Yeah.
Rothfuss, if you're
Like a
listening.
writing, like a yeah. I'm sure Patrick Rothfuss is one of your guys' devoted fans.
Obviously.
Obviously he's very active online. So like a writing consultant. I mean, there's consultants for everything. I
Yeah.
suppose that makes sense
yeah.
too for authors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I didn't do too much this week other than drive. A lot of driving. I
Mhm.
guess. I feel like there's something that happened last week that I didn't just can't remember right now. But it's been work and stuff. I started Mythic Quest season 2,
Nice.
which is very good so far. We're just 2 episodes in. So happy with that. And pretty soon you'll end up catching up to me in Resident Evil Village, Andrea, because I haven't gotten back into it here for a minute. So
Should I slow down and
no,
start playing Borderlands style where I'm just
no,
knifing everything?
no. Keep going, because I'm gonna have to push to get done for next week's episode. So I'm sure. Oh my God, Phil's
Oh my
camera
god.
just fell all over the
You know
place.
what? I'm gonna
Careful.
blame it on the dog.
Oh,
It wasn't the dog. It was me. But
Tofu Run, Alan says. Is that a mod for Resident Evil Village? Tofu
yeah.
Run?
Tell me about this.
I'm unaware. And we're
Yeah.
both playing on consoles, so the mod thing is probably off limits. But I will bring up the other exciting news that's not good news, but it is exciting. Oh wait, okay, Alan posted about this tofu thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't. Yep. I don't know what's happening there.
It's opening.
Paint us a word picture,
It
John.
might not be in Village. Okay. Well, if anyone out there is interested in the tofu mod, go ahead and search that up and tell us what it is.
Yeah.
All right, because I'm at a
Please
loss.
do. Same.
When I was gone, because I was looking for, we were going to check out a combine 3 states away, and the night I was gone, we had a bad storm. It was like isolated because it wasn't in the area like too widespread, and we don't know if it was a tornado or not. But I was gone, and Ashley had to run to the basement. And when she got up in the morning, one of our big machine shed was demolished, completely,
Oh my God.
like ripped asunder.
Whoa.
There's like
Twister
tin
style?
wrapped around trees and like stuff blown across the road into the ditch,
Wow.
and just like
So like it
total
ripped a bunch of siding off, or the
destruction.
whole building actually was like literally demolished?
The like 3/4 of the building just collapsed
This was like a
and it
outbuilding on
blew
your
away.
farm?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Like
So,
stick built, or like what? Or like a foundation?
well, it's wooden posts and steel header beams, and then
Sure.
rafters, and
Wow.
then
So like
it's
a full
all
on
sided in
building.
tin, and yep.
Wow.
I was
Man,
gonna
must have been
send
Crazy.
I
must have
thought
been
about
a
sending
brief
pictures.
tornado touchdown then. It had to have been, right? What else could do that?
I know, right? Either that or it just didn't quite touch, but it was, yeah, it left the house alone, but just
Wow.
totally annihilated that. It pulled our apple tree up by the roots. It's just
Wow.
Jeez.
yanked
Had to
out
have
of the
been.
ground.
Had to have been. Crazy.
So yeah.
That was just a couple nights ago?
Yep.
Wow.
And it was really unexpected because there really wasn't anything. And Ashley checked the radar. It's like one red dot that just happened
Do
to
you
be
guys
on
think
us,
it
I guess.
do you guys think it might have been aliens?
I mean, it's a common thing if we are uncertain. It's like it's ghosts or aliens. So
Right. I
Or
mean,
it could be.
it could be vampires. This is gonna throw back way to season 1 of True Blood.
maybe.
But
Yeah.
when Bill tries to destroy that trailer park and he tries to like mimic a tornado.
Don't
No.
have any
I
memory of
don't
that
remember
scene,
that.
but
Okay.
it's been a long time since I've seen season
I
1
mean,
of True Blood.
definitely a
Blood,
Quicksilver or Flash thing. Yeah.
Man.
So yeah, it
Oh,
was
that's
nuts. I felt
crazy.
bad because I was gone, or whatever, and then they were here cleaning up or whatever and stuff, and I was
Sure.
gone. So
Well, I mean, you're working, but
Right.
don't feel bad,
so
John.
yeah, that's what we've been doing today, clean up on
Okay.
that. So
Man.
yep.
I mean, when you think
Yeah.
about it, there's like a billion stars just in our galaxy. So I mean, like the chances that aliens are out there are pretty high. I know this isn't like
You want to talk about aliens?
I
You
know
wanna
this
talk
isn't
about
a
aliens?
science or a conspiracy theory podcast, but I'm just gonna put a plug out there for that. Like, obviously, there must be intelligent life somewhere else in the
Phil's gonna
universe.
take a hard
Well,
turn on this podcast.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're coming up with a new podcast right now. I mean, I totally believe that there is other intelligent life out there just because by the odds,
Right.
right, by the
Gotta
sheer
be.
number of even
Gotta be.
visible stars, yeah, like
Mhm.
just the chances,
Yeah.
it's got to be there. The
Yep.
question to me, that's not a question to me. It's, well, are they here? Have they ever been here as any of them?
Mhm.
That's always the thing that's in question. And obviously there's
Sure.
there's a new surge of
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
I don't know what you call it, sightings, I guess, recently.
Mhm. Yeah.
Renewed credibility,
Interest.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Mhm.
Or I don't know. But you brought up, Phil, what your stances here?
Oh, I agree with you. That I think the odds are it's got to be. There's just so much space out there and so many stars and potentially habitable planets. I forget. I can't name them off the top of my head right now, but I've seen like estimates where they estimate. They talk about the number of stars in our galaxy, and based on that and what they know from the research, they can estimate how many of those stars are likely to have like planets in the Goldilocks zone, and it's like an unfathomable amount of like potential life sustaining planets out there just in our galaxy.
Hmm.
And when you think about all the number of galaxies are out there, it's like your mind can't even process it. So it's like the odds I think are there, that there's got to be intelligent life out there.
I
And
like
I
that
I'm
it has
pretty
the
I
name,
feel like
like
it's
the
been here.
Goldilocks zone, the just right.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. That's a great name.
Can
But the
I?
thing is
Oh,
with the Goldilocks zone that I always find incorrect is that it's the Goldilocks zone for us, for life
true.
as we
Sure.
exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
not necessarily for life in general as life that we have found thus far.
Right,
And
but
we have life that's
you still need an
Right.
atmosphere to like.
Right. Well,
right,
and
but it's
and
always that
to be fair, like if we haven't encountered another species, we wouldn't know what their, qualifications for sustainable life are. So we have to base
True,
it
but
on. Do you know, like, I mean, that's just my theory about it. Like we wouldn't
yeah, I
exactly
guess like
know like outside of
I
other
guess
sustainable.
theoretically, yeah,
Yeah.
we only can comprehend life in a certain way, I suppose, and we can't comprehend something we can't comprehend that we've never experienced.
Right.
yeah, I'm just thinking
So
like if it's that
true.
well, if we're going off of the idea that well, only these types of planets can
Right.
be habitable, that's not
Hmm.
necessary. Only these types of planets could potentially support a
Us.
life like
Yes.
ours. Yeah.
Right. I just think that I don't think anything could live in a vacuum. Like it still
I
have to.
agree.
I don't know.
I
Maybe I could
I
be
mean,
wrong.
I think there are like certain criteria that we could just like make assumptions about. But yes, like
Hmm.
obviously again, you know, if there were other
Hmm.
species out there that can live in a different way than we do, like there potentially would be, how many more planets that could sustain life, just not
True.
our
Well, that
life.
would just make the number go up because
Right,
the
exactly.
number of planets that are in the Goldilocks zone is
Already
ginormous.
high, yeah.
So already high, right? There's a great episode of Explained on Netflix. Fox's Explained, when they talk about
Oh yeah.
extraterrestrial life and like
Yep.
all this kind of science and all the known sort of information about that. It's awesome. Um, since we're talking about this, can I tell you guys my super interesting space science fact that I learned in the last like week or two?
Go for it.
Okay.
So I know you want to get to Castlevania, but I'm gonna cite him because this is like a public podcast. So this guy named Tim Urban, he does this blog, Wait But Why. You guys familiar with Wait But Why?
No.
He's like this like psychology, sociology, philosophy sort of like blogger. Really good stuff. He's one of my favorite guys to follow on Twitter. He has his own blog and website, but
Sure.
he tweeted this a couple weeks ago that um, the last stars in our universe will die out in 120 trillion years from now, at most, followed by 10 to the 106th power years of just black holes. Condensed, that's like the universe starting with 1 second of stars and then a billion, 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 billion years of just black holes.
Oof.
Wait,
Just
was
like
Wow.
so crazy, so insane.
That is
is
insane.
this the guy this site looks familiar now. Is this you must have sent me
I may
an
have.
article from this.
I may have.
Yes.
He does stuff on. I know we don't talk about politics on the podcast, but he does do some stuff on politics and just kind of like the science
Sure.
behind how people clump together in different like political groups and stuff. So that's pretty
Sure.
Mhm.
interesting, kind of sociological research. But
Yep. I think
yeah,
that's what you sent me.
yeah.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, he's a
Yeah,
cool guy to
I
follow. He's
am
really interesting stuff. Does a
I
lot of
am
research.
I'm totally into the anytime life and our planet and everything can be put into perspective,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because I think a lot of times people like miss it, and doing
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of scales, those kind of bigger picture, grander
Mm-hmm.
scheme kind of viewpoints,
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot.
Mhm.
Cool.
It's kind
I'll
of
I'll
like
also
the image of our world so far as represented by a calendar,
mm-hmm.
and humanity has existed for like a couple hours on the last day of the month, and
Yeah, right, exactly.
kind
Yep,
of thing.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'll send you a link for an app that this guy Tim Urban developed with like a team of like phone app developers, to show the difference in size, and it's like this interactive map where you can like zoom really down into like subatomic particle levels, and then zoom
mm,
all the way out into like universal levels, and then every little thing that they have you can click on and read a little snippet about it. It's
That's
pretty sweet
cool.
app. It's like $1, but maybe you guys can add it to like the show notes after for all the viewers to look at and check out, because it's a pretty sweet, and it gets to exactly what you're talking about, like looking at the difference in like size. That one's specifically about the difference in like size of things,
Sure.
but it's super
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I have a good transition other than maybe, to make some of the deep topics go down easier. You need a little liquid, little alcohol to go along with it.
Mm.
It
Mm-hmm.
can,
Mm-hmm.
invigorate the mind at times, I guess. So what are our drink holidays, Andrea?
All
And are you
right.
abiding by them?
I am indeed. I am abiding by yesterday. Has two technical holidays pretty much related to one another. Um, Yesterday it was International Wine Day, so I've got my glass here full of wine. It was also Chardonnay Day yesterday, so I'm not abiding by that one because I'm actually not much of a white wine drinker in general. But I also have red wine because of the topic that we'll get into later, Castlevania. So I am celebrating. And then upcoming this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, the 30th is Mint Julep Day,
All
which
right.
I have had before. I had a job where for some reason our bosses decided that we were going to celebrate Kentucky Derby Day and got
Mm.
us all like mid-afternoon, like ordered us all food, ordered us like the ingredients for mint juleps, and we just spent like 2 hours mid-afternoon eating and drinking, and then had to like finish out our last couple hours of our shift like completely wasted off of mint
Was
juleps,
was
which
this the
I
job you
don't know
had
was like
when?
which what? Sorry.
What? Oh, sorry. Was it gonna say, was this the job you had before grad school?
No, no, this was
Oh,
like
okay.
early on, like right out of college. Um and I was temping. I was replacing somebody who was on maternity leave,
Mm,
and I was
That
working in
sounds
customer
familiar. Yeah.
service.
I think I know what you're talking about. Actually, that's what I
Yeah.
think. That's what I was referring
Oh,
to.
okay.
Actually,
That's
yeah.
okay. All right.
With
Yeah.
the
So
with
I was
the difficult circumstances all the way
yes.
around. Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Okay.
yep. Yep.
That sounds about right. Was
So
it that boss too who decided to do Kentucky Derby Day?
yes. Uh huh.
Well,
Which I mean,
that
at the
tracks.
it makes so much sense now knowing what I know,
Sure,
but, like, at the time, I
sure.
was like,
All the viewers
"Okay,
are like, yeah,
sure."
yeah, all inside conversations, guys. Thanks a lot. We
Yes,
don't understand what you're
thank
talking
you.
about. So
Yeah.
I put my 1,000 apologies, viewers.
But, yeah, so it was pretty funny, and I was, like, working in customer service at the time, so it's like, do you really wanna, like, call drunk customer service representatives? Or, like, maybe you do, I don't know,
Maybe,
maybe
Well,
yeah.
I might
maybe
actually, maybe. Well,
maybe
depends
you're
how
really
drunk.
fun or.
If they're like, just kind of, buzzing and like super chatty and nice, then that's great. But if they're like falling like down
Yeah,
drunk when you're trying to talk to them about your
Yeah.
customer service
right,
issues, then yeah, that might be
there were
frustrating.
different levels. I was definitely like of the buzzy, like I was
Sure,
having a good time variety, but I could
sure.
definitely tell
Yeah.
some of my coworkers were a little further gone than I was. So
Well, if you get your issue resolved in a timely fashion still, but it's just in a more entertaining way, potentially
sure,
with a more fun, lively person, then
sure.
for sure. If you're
Well,
not getting the solutions yet,
right, because they're
and
like
that's
obstinate
holding
and
you
Right.
back.
drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be frustrating. Yeah.
Well, and on the flip side, like what for the employer, what if your employees are so like buzzed and happy that they're just like, sure, refunds all around. We'll send you
Oh,
like
sure.
5 new
Yeah.
products. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
boy.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's just like a fun little anecdote from my early working days, um, involving
Nice.
mint juleps. It's always what I think of whenever I hear about mint juleps. So,
Mhm.
are
How
you?
about you,
Are
Phil?
I? Yeah. Are either of you partaking and are either of you observing any holidays?
I do have a drink here. I'm not observing the holidays,
What you got for us,
because
though?
mint juleps are kind of like a pain to make, and I don't have any
Yes,
wine.
they are. They're very fiddly.
I have some like some scotch, nothing super fancy. I you know,
A strong
but it's
drink.
not like, but it's not cheap, not cheap scotch. It's just like decent scotch.
All
Nice.
Neat,
right.
It's that that should be a brand. I do decent
decent
scotch.
scotch.
Just literally
That should be
decent
a brand.
scotch.
I think that sounds good. Just decent.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be or descent scotch. Ooh, I would do that in the
Scent.
campaign, and it's comes from like deep within the earth
That's
somehow.
right.
Yeah.
Deep. Wait. Descent.
Like the
Yeah.
movie Descent.
hmm
Mm.
Well, just like you have to go way down to
Yeah.
get
Oh,
necessary,
hmm
spices that are.
hmm
sure.
Very earthy.
Yeah.
I
hmm
dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. What have you
Well,
got for us, John?
I'm being lame. I have a soda. I have a, I have
John.
like a, yep.
I was
hmm
told
I,
it's Popcast
Where's
on the
fitness
rocks.
trainer?
Like,
Where's fitness trainer to
know,
scold you for
I
your
know it's
soda?
I know.
Mike, we need you.
I
I'm sorry.
needed,
You have a fitness trainer?
Fitness trainer is
no.
the name of one of our viewers who frequently pops in the chat, and he has
Ah.
scolded John before for drinking soda.
Oh,
So,
funny. I mean, it isn't like super good for you, but yeah.
No. Yeah, well, it is on the rocks, so
Well,
we have that,
okay.
and it
all
is
right.
Fair.
pop on the rocks.
I
It's
You're
getting
guess.
there.
skating. You're skating
That's
on technicalities right now, John.
right.
We definitely go all over the place. I think we do pretty
Yeah.
good to celebrate the days often
Yes.
enough, but
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say
yeah,
I really can't talk because obviously there was a stretch there when I was pregnant that I was not in the partaking or imbibing,
hmm
obviously, for
Yep.
very logical reasons.
Yeah.
Still, are you pregnant, John?
Um, I
No
refrain
comment.
from answering. Yeah.
No comment.
We might as well get into a little bit of news. It's not much, just a couple
Sure.
headlines that I added quickly because I'm excited for them.
Yeah.
The first one, however, is a correction because we talked a little bit about Dave Filoni uh, and his position at Lucasfilm and things
hmm
changing a little there. This is actually wrong. This
Oh.
is fake news going around. Basically, it became to light because Lucasfilm updated his job title on the website, but he had
Oh, okay.
already he already had been in this position for like a
Okay.
year.
So it's
So
just
it's not actually news. It's just
okay.
Lucasfilm being slow on the website updating,
Okay.
and then a bunch of people jumping on that.
Sure.
So our
So
like
good
my
news. It's just
hesitancy.
yeah.
Yeah, well, my hesitancy and like, is this going to make a difference kind of thing is probably still founded because we've been operating for a year with this. So yeah.
Sure.
No one came at me though, so I guess I got the correction in just in time. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, if this is truly the case, it's obviously like everybody else was, thinking the same thing.
Yep. Yep. The other two things, there's a lot of all of the sudden, because we talked about last week
Mhm.
how Summer Games Fest is forthcoming here, but
June
we
10th.
also, yeah, we have out of nowhere kind of these other
Yeah.
gaming events. There's actually tonight. It's odd because of time zones. There's a Dragon Quest of live stream. I believe it's
Okay.
the first time that it's being shown worldwide. Normally, it's just like it's a Japanese thing, and I think with the last Dragon Quest, they've kind of like found a bigger audience, so they're yeah, it's going to be shown in multiple languages. So we'll see what happens with that tonight. And then tomorrow is a big one. There's, I believe, a Dying Light 2 event. And then there's a Sonic 30th anniversary live
Nice.
stream. So for listeners later or whatever,
Like,
this is
of the Hedgehog.
Thursday the 27th. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog, 30 years. They released a little teaser or a little trailer kind of celebrating, and now there's going to be a live stream, and it's tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time. So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. What's gonna be there? So
Okay.
Fun.
yeah. And then the one I'm really excited for,
Yes.
Horizon Forbidden West. They're doing a showcase for that tomorrow at 4 p.m. and Central Time. And they're going to show, I think, 15 minutes of gameplay and probably a new story trailer and who knows. But this is like basically my most anticipated game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
That's about it.
It's getting into summertime when all like the gaming showcases are coming back.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had such like a hot summer, I felt like last year. And it was just like one gaming showcase after another. And then, like you get into like fall, winter, and they're just like, it's nothing. It's like almost barren. Back
It'll
in the summer.
be I look forward to seeing what this year is like because doing the digital E3 so that we get a big event at once. But then Sony is not participating, so now we're getting like their state of play here. So stuff in Summer of Games, will it be as broken up as it was last year, or will it be consolidated a little more? I don't know. I would think.
Well, and they're starting to, obviously be able to hold in-person events and, work in person again. So, will we see as much online as we did, or is this going to be we're going to see even more because games are able to finally be produced a little bit faster again?
Yeah, I don't know. Time will tell. It should be a good year. Well, in other, I guess, video game related things, though it's not the game, it's probably time to talk about Castlevania from Netflix, season 4. So Phil was here last time to talk about Castlevania as well. But now we're on the 4th and final season. I'm not sure where to begin. Andrea, initial thoughts.
Yes.
Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers for Castlevania seasons 1 through 4 on Netflix.
Yes. So my overall thoughts, I was very happy with the way that Castlevania wrapped up. I thought it was very satisfying. Obviously, when you watch a lot of anime, as we do, even though I know this isn't anime, it's like an animated series.
It's kind of like American anime. I've heard it referred to as.
Yeah. I mean, for people who like maybe aren't into anime, it would be like their sort of like, segue into.
It literally was my segue into like more traditional anime. So
there you go. But there's often like really unsatisfying endings, like like you get a season of a show and it just ends very abruptly.
Cowboy
with, like,
Bebop.
a million, classic.
Which I just recently watched, but yeah.
Yeah, so it ends with like a million questions or like storylines unwrapped up, and you're so unsatisfied as a viewer. And I really was so happy that Castlevania wrapped up in a very satisfying way, wrapped up like the main storylines of its characters, kind of left like a little door, at the end with like the additional scene of Dracula and his wife Vlad and
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Tepesh.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of like, oh, what could they do? They're gonna go travel the world. They're gonna,
Mm-hmm.
reunite with their son. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't an opening that left me with like lots of questions. It was just sort of like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to, see how that goes? But I'm cool like ending here. So I thought this season was much like the others. It kind of started out a little bit slow and then built to the momentum where like the last couple of episodes were just absolutely, insane, fast paced, like epic battle sequences. Um, you know, like you're just kind of on the edge of your seat. And then I like that they took a final episode to like step back from all of that and wrap everything up. So excellent job.
How about you, Phil?
Oh yeah, I agree with everything Andrew said. I really was happy with how it all wrapped up. I didn't feel like it needed to be wrapped up this season. I think they could have continued doing it if they'd really wanted to. I think there was
Oh, I
plenty they could have
agree.
continued doing with it. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no,
you
I'm
said they couldn't, but I mean,
yeah,
I
no.
think
If they wanted to, I would have been happy to watch, 4 more seasons of
sure,
Castlevania. But
right,
if this had to be the end of it, thank
right.
goodness they wrapped it up in a satisfying way.
I agree. I did get the impression with some of the storylines they wrapped up, like, well, I think they gave everyone a fine wrap up. I think I got the impression where maybe they were expecting it was going to go a couple more seasons, and then a
Sure.
couple more seasons, then got the message like, oh, this is actually going to be the last one, so they had to like reconfigure some things to like really wrap it up.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You
like
don't think
I don't know
so?
Hector and
about that.
Isaac maybe. Hector and Isaac were
Yeah,
the only
I
ones that
think
I
that
thought
the
like, oh,
and like
interesting.
the three vampire or the four like
Well,
vampire
3
chicks,
now. Or no,
right?
2 now, really,
Two now,
actually.
right? Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it really, I guess you just there's that one scene where they're like, "Well, we're just gonna go off and live," and then you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was very
I don't know.
disappointed in that. I was
Yeah,
not disappointed in Carmilla's death. That
no, that was really cool.
was epic and amazing, and I
yes.
loved
Yeah, that was
it.
awesome. Mm-hmm.
The whole way through the battle, like the
Mm-hmm.
river of blood,
Yeah.
that, like I just everything about that was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And really loved like Isaac climbing up that like staircase as the blood was dripping down from like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
literally all the night creatures she just, effing
Mm-hmm.
destroyed
Yeah.
because he's such a
Mm-hmm.
badass.
Yeah.
So that was great. But yeah, I agree with you that the two of the other four, Marana and Striga, just like leaving and
Mm-hmm.
being like, bye.
Right.
Guess we
Yeah.
lost. That was underwhelming.
I
And then
I
you're
actually like
yeah.
that. I like that because
Really?
it
Okay.
was I thought that it was the easier route out for them would have been, oh, we're mad, they're attacking our sister, or we're gonna storm in there, and then ultimately also the heroes will kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it instead they like recognize that
But
what
would
was
they
important to
though?
them.
Like I could see maybe Striga marching in there and just being like, like I'm here to lay waste. I'm a warrior. That's what I do. But
Mm-hmm.
Marana's a thinker. Like she's a strategizer. Like maybe she would have been like, okay, well, like this is what happened. Maybe we throw our fortunes in with Isaac. Maybe, we rescue Lenore because they just assumed
Mm-hmm.
that Lenore died. She didn't,
Sure. Right. Wow.
like,
Not then. Anyway.
I
But
mean, not
that
then
is what
anyway.
they
Right.
that is what they end up, doing is even though they made some miscalculations in what had actually occurred, they
Hmm.
made that calculation that the castle's lost. Like we want to go
Mm-hmm.
back in with these few men
Hmm.
here,
Yep.
and if Carmilla's dead, then what force managed to take her out? We don't know
Mm-hmm.
what we're going against there, and they
Mm-hmm.
had become disheartened with the mission,
Mm-hmm.
and no
You're right.
longer
Yeah.
believed in the mission. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah. I
no,
just,
no.
why
I
does a
just think like,
vampire always have to like think that I need to go in, I need to take over, I need to like rule everything, and they
Mm-hmm.
realize that like it's themselves together that makes them happy,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's what they need,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
they could have
True.
discovered, Lenore was alive, like
Mm-hmm. True.
they made an assumption about that, and what might have changed their plans, like knowing that she was still alive, like just assuming that, oh, if, Carmilla died, then my God, of course Lenore did too.
I would think they probably thought that, but yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's logical, but
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
obviously we as the viewer are privy to
Well,
information that they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
so how do you think that would have played out if they would have gone to, sent ahead some minions basically to
Yeah, I
scope
mean,
out the area,
I would think they would have done some recon. Like Striga's no fool. Clearly,
and then
after
it
that,
Mm-hmm.
second episode where she just like puts on her day armor and just
Mm-hmm.
decimates that human village, which was
Uh,
amazing.
it was
I
awesome. It was super
love that.
gross,
Like,
but it was a sweet scene.
yeah, but it was so cool. Like her Raven armor day
Yeah.
suit. Like,
Oh, it was so cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Like I just loved it. But
Also,
yeah,
why
so
haven't
she's
other vampires done that? Like they're all like super wealthy. Like they have all the money they need. Like
yeah,
they'd
I
be
know
walking around in those all the time.
she's like hoarding this secret of, how
Right.
she can walk around in the day, which I mean,
Yeah.
nice job. Like,
Yeah.
I would probably
well,
keep
the
Maybe
that
she's the one that
on
knows.
armies
the down
are
low.
they're puppets, just like Isaac, burnt through how many dozens and dozens of night
Mm-hmm.
creatures in
Mhm.
an
Right.
attempt to
To get
take the
Carmilla.
castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's the same thing. You throw your soldiers, their numbers
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
throw at a problem, and
Yep.
so they don't.
I
Yeah, they don't get the lavish,
I
armor
did I
and
did find
protection.
it interesting that like maybe Marana didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she needs to like battle anybody, but like,
Sure.
That would
just
be
for
the thing there.
safety.
Right.
Sure.
Just, like thinking about how much like Striga obviously loved her, it would be like,
Sure.
oh, like you can't always hide in a coffin. Like that was very
Right.
convenient, but
Right. Right.
you know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I
But
was just a little surprised that maybe they just kind of like, that was like their wrap up for the storyline. And then we
mm-hmm.
never saw them
Yeah.
again.
Right.
Was
Yeah.
anyone
Because the
else
sisters were
hoping?
such a force. They were such a force in season 3, and they
Mm-hmm.
seemed so unstoppable, and then it just seemed,
Mm-hmm. Kind of
with
fizzled
the
out
death of
in season 4.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But that
mean
was really my
the
only
death
That
of
big
Carmilla
criticism.
was epic, but yeah, the
Right.
rest of them fizzled.
Yeah.
But how do you see that ending then? So what would they have accomplished? Because that's the nature of our story, where
Mm-hmm.
okay, our heroes are going to be victorious.
Mm-hmm.
So do they get
Sure.
in and then end up running away? Does one of them die and then the other one goes
Mm-hmm.
into a rage and die and like
Sure.
maybe
Right.
kills someone but gets killed in because of their bloodlust, or
Sure.
like
Well, see,
Uh,
I didn't see this as like a major storyline. I saw it more as like, obviously a side storyline,
mm-hmm.
but it could have been wrapped up a little bit more satisfying, pitting them against Isaac maybe and Hector,
Mm-hmm.
because the whole like idea that Isaac took over the castle and then he was like, I'm going to start this whole new thing, and we never see him again, and then,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like his storyline gets wrapped up off camera where Hector's like, "Oh, and Isaac's off doing this thing while he's talking to
Mm-hmm.
Lenore." You know what I mean? Like it was
Right.
that part was a little unsatisfying for me. Like Isaac was such like a big part of everything. He
Yeah.
had this whole new vision, and then
Mm-hmm.
suddenly he was just like Lord of the Manor off
Mm-hmm.
camera.
Right.
And I just thought maybe that could have been like some interesting like Isaac versus the sisters, or Isaac and Hector versus the sisters,
Mm-hmm.
especially to get kind of some maybe like, momentum shifting or, power switching from last season
Mm-hmm.
where like the sisters absolutely dominated Hector, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they tricked him and brought him into the fold and forced him to be their forge master.
Sure.
And it could have been interesting to pit, Hector and Isaac against them as like a
Mm-hmm.
side plot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think overall, I mean, that would have been cool. I think overall,
Yeah, I
though,
mean,
like,
you do what you
I
do with
loved
the
the,
time you have.
yeah, I loved it. I thought it was an awesome season. I've interestingly seen some takes where people are saying like, oh, well, season 3 and 4 are okay, but like they're no season 2 I was like, really? Like I
Whoa.
like the whole series, but I'm like, I love season 3 and I love season 4 even more. Like, so I don't get that take like that. People are thinking like the earlier seasons are better. I think the earlier seasons are really good.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
season
but
one is just like a short film. And so I
right, it's
think
not
that's really
even
Yes.
good because it's so concise and
sure.
it's just like it's impactful, it's to the point. Dracula is done very well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's like some real set pieces that are
Mm-hmm.
impressive. Um, season two is so much setup. We're
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
introduced to the idea of the Forge Masters. The
Mm-hmm.
idea we're introduced to Isaac and Hector. We're introduced to the
Mm-hmm.
the court of
Mm-hmm.
Dracula and the
Right.
whole like
Mm-hmm.
Right.
system and all the different vampires and like so
Yep.
there's a lot of exposition and world building
Mm-hmm.
that needs to happen and takes place
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
season two
Yep.
to the series' benefit, but to season two's detriment.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree.
Right.
So like it was necessary, but it made the whole thing season two slow.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe
Yes.
people think back on it fondly, but then if you ever actually go back and watch it, you're like, oh, this is actually not. There's so much setup in this series or in this season that I didn't
Hmm.
realize. Yeah,
Yeah.
could be. Mhm.
I had, I think, unless I'm forgetting something, I had two, well, I'll say three issues with this season, and that's
Okay.
Okay.
for me that I really really liked it. I one found a few like bits of monologuing to be
Mm,
repetitive.
okay.
Varney is our vampire from London that everybody's heard
Hmm.
of course.
Mm-hmm.
He
Sure, of
um
course.
he rambles on in his fight against the other vampires working
Oh
with,
yeah.
a-
Yeah.
and
Oh,
there's
Racco.
moments where I'm like, you just said that, but
Yeah.
in a different way. Like I just like
Sure.
some of those speeches need to be tidied up, and I found this with
Mm,
Isaac talking to Carmilla as well. It's a
mm-hmm.
little like explainy that I didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I just
Sure.
thought some speeches needed to be tightened up in a couple
Sure.
places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, two,
With the
I what's that?
I was gonna say with the fly too, this fly night creature when he was like explaining to Isaac like this is
Yeah.
why we should why are you having us do this? Like I like that scene, but I
Yep.
could see where people might be like, oh yeah, this conversation could have been done like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Just tightened up a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I hear that.
And two would be that I wasn't happy with Lenora's ending. I
Mm,
didn't understand that from her. And I also was hoping that her and Hector were going to make a weird thing work, you
yeah,
know? And
I thought so too. I hoped so too. Yeah.
because it was like a bad, obviously not healthy relationship, but they
What?
learned something from each other over the course of the couple
Yeah.
seasons, and
Yeah.
I think each got better and each grew to care about one another.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Lenore, Hector became the only um like escape she could have. No one else, she didn't
Yeah.
feel like she could even at that point confide in anyone else, and like she didn't have
Yeah.
a role anymore and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought they ended up kind of needing each other. And so for
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
her to just off herself,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she could have at least had a life with Hector and then killed herself when he died, like of old age or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
agree. I thought they could have made a go with it, especially when Hector, cut off his finger with the ring on it. Because
Ugh.
of course, like they were never gonna really make a go of it with the ring on, because
Right.
Sure.
ultimately, like she was always gonna have some form of control, so that's not really
Mm-hmm.
like anything that would work out.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, they could have made, like you said, a weird thing work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also didn't really I was dissatisfied with her ending because she just spent this whole like monologue explaining why, Carmilla's initial plan, not the one where she like expanded to like we're going to take over the world like Pinky and the
Mm.
Brain style, but like
Right.
But their initial plan where she was like, okay, we're going to take over this stretch of land and the humans are going to be in pens and they're going to be in
Sure.
these like feeding livestock areas. And she was perfectly fine with that and she kept defending it and she was like, a vampire's virtue is that we bring order and I see
Mhm.
this as bringing order and stability. And then she
Mhm.
like turned around and was like, but I can't live in a cage. I'm like, you realize that
Yeah.
Carmilla's entire plan was people living in giant cages. And you're
But that's
perfectly
Sure.
fine
food.
with that.
Right. They
Yeah.
don't see them.
Right, I
Yeah.
know. I just thought it was like a little ironic to like be like,
Sure.
this is order and this is noble and this is a virtue, and not see like any connection with her living in a cage and being
Right.
like, I can't live in a cage. I have to off
Mhm.
myself.
Right.
So I was
Right.
like, ugh, I feel like you're smart enough. As she says, she's like the diplomat of the group, and
Sure.
she's used
Yeah.
to like talking all of these solutions out. Like you
Well,
really can't see the parallels
and she has
here.
relationships with humans. Like she has,
Right.
like she's talked to them. She knows it's not the
She's
same as like
negotiated, yeah.
me. It's not the same as like me and like a pet pig where I'm like, oh, I can't talk with the pet pig. Yes, they're a food
Right,
source
there's
and they're
not the
cute,
intelligent level, yeah.
but Lenore can talk to Hector and like realize he's like
Exactly.
intelligent. She might not think he's
Exactly.
like
On her level,
le-
sure.
on her level or less
But they
than,
can
a
they
less
can
than her,
communicate.
but right.
Yeah.
It's just
So
weird.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I thought that part, I agree, John, was a little
Hmm.
unsatisfying, both in the sense of like I wish she had lived and she and Hector could have been a thing, but also like
Hmm.
I wish they could have like acknowledged the irony of her being like, I can't do this,
Hmm.
Mhm.
versus like that was her entire plan for a large
Hmm.
swath of the population.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had you
Um,
guys heard? Sorry, I want to say. Had you guys heard that they're going to be doing more, like more seasons of the show in the Castlevania universe, but not just with this character, with these
No,
characters in the
no, I
storyline?
hadn't heard that. Do you
Yeah.
know what they're planning to do?
I don't think there's any information on that as far as I could find,
Okay.
but that they
Okay.
are planning to do more, like Netflix and the production team is planning to do more in this Castlevania universe.
okay.
Excellent.
So that
Well,
that heartens me, that we'll have more
Agreed.
yeah.
similar stuff in the future.
And see, that could have, I guess that would be so kind of combine two things into one for three is that, um, well, okay, I'm going to separate them. So the third one is that I didn't need Dracula and his wife coming back at the end. Like I was
Mm,
fine with it, but it didn't need to
sure.
be there. And part of the thing with Dracula, if they are going to do more in this universe, with different characters,
Hmm.
it's like Dracula is always coming back like every 100
Sure.
years. It's what
Right.
the characters are often different. Because
Right.
the humans don't live that long, kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I didn't feel like I needed that.
Hmm.
I mean, to me, that says that Dracula is finished, even though there's like a potential there. I think anything you do to it wrecks it because you
Hmm.
can't have him fall again. You can't have him like,
Sure.
oh, something bad happens, his wife's
Wife
killed,
dies
and then he
again.
becomes,
Right.
yeah, and he becomes, well, or he becomes evil again. He's going wants to
Right.
destroy all the humans, kind of. You,
Right.
you can't do that again.
Unless
If
they
you were
did like
gonna
some
do,
like a prequel season
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they could do that for sure.
pre
Yeah,
all this
when the
happening.
Belmonts are like big
Right.
and known,
Right.
Right.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
that's where I would think they would actually go with it. Because this
That's
was
where I
pretty
would hope they would
final.
go. Yeah.
This seems like, this would be the end of all the very, like, so I could see them actually doing more prequel stuff. But
sure,
Yeah.
I mean, he
I would
kills
I would
Death at
hope
the
so.
end, so nowhere
Well,
is there
yeah,
anybody bigger or badder to destroy at the end of a future season than that? I don't know. I don't think so.
right.
that's true.
But
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Three would be I don't know that or four, I guess, would be that I don't know that I needed, like, again, I was kind of pleasantly happy, but I was surprised that they brought Trevor back at the end.
I was too.
I kind I
Yeah.
kind of I wanted because you could definitely see in the animation that he like popped, he like got sucked in,
Right.
you
Yeah,
could see that
Mhm.
he did. I
absolutely.
was waiting for him to be incinerated, and that
Right.
didn't happen. So you
Mhm.
already knew with that something had happened,
Right.
probably
Hmm.
infinite doorway stuff.
Right.
Hmm.
um I would have liked to see something where he's stuck in the infinite corridor, or he is somewhere else and is alive, and
Mhm.
therefore we have now, like, we have a future mission for him. Like, his life goal now is going to be to get back,
Sure.
and so we're ending on a hopeful note, not a like, wow, everything is perfect note.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
you guys happy with how
Well,
like,
I
Well,
feel
I think
like.
I
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I'm gonna quick go. Just knowing that they're gonna do something else in the Castlevania universe makes me actually more satisfied that this is like fully wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if they're gonna do something in the Castlevania universe but not use these characters, then I'm happy that their storyline is wrapped up,
Mm-hmm.
because that means we can fully divorce ourselves from like these characters are going to be in anything. If they left
Mm-hmm.
something open, it would have been like, oh, even though they're, doing something like a prequel with the Belmont family, let's
Mm-hmm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're going to go find Trevor in the Infinite Corridor and that's going to tie in, and
sure.
X, Y, and
Mm.
Z. Now we
Sure.
can just like completely enjoy something separate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Like
I
full
think,
resolution.
yeah, full
Mm-hmm.
resolution. So
Mm-hmm.
while this series ended on a more, happy note, and probably, something more upbeat than we're used to with something like Castlevania,
Mm-hmm.
where,
Mhm.
so much of it is rooted in, like these almost seemingly hopeless situations and these, insurmountable odds, and,
Mm-hmm.
many a time situations do not work out in our main character's favor. Basically Alucard's whole storyline as an example.
Yep.
Um I'm actually more satisfied that, this he's back, he's here. They didn't make a whole happy drawn out like scene of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just enough of him being back and them being all like sarcastic and bantery with each other. I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like now I can close this
Sypha calling for
chapter.
someone to kill him after she just got him back.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
Alucard, making stupid references about his dumb name and whatever and
Right.
stuff like that. Like I'm happy
Treffy.
to close. Yes, exactly. I'm happy to close the chapter on
Yeah.
these characters then,
Yeah.
and completely move on to new ones who have nothing to do or very tangentially have something to do with these characters.
Yeah. I agree with that, and John, I agree with you that I was a little surprised. I actually thought I hadn't thought about him getting sucked into the infinite corridor. I actually thought he like died with
Oh,
death when he killed
death.
him. So I was
Mm-hmm.
actually pretty okay with him having been like sacrificing himself to save like
Mhm.
millions of humans, of his fellow humans, and
Mm-hmm.
Sypha deciding to stay in the town with Alucard and his new girl,
Greta.
and like build that town there and have her babies. And
Mm-hmm.
I was actually pretty okay with that. I was surprised when they brought Trevor. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but I
Yep.
was surprised when they brought him back, and
No, I was
and that
Mm-hmm.
was fine
Mhm.
too. I mean, that makes it for a happier ending. But I think it would have
Yeah.
been fine if they had left him as like this sort
Yeah.
of um Lebowski Jesus, sacrificing himself for to save humanity.
Yeah.
That would have been cool with me, actually.
Yeah,
I
I
might have
think
liked it
either
a little
way,
bit more.
yeah, I mean, it would have had more impact.
Hmm.
This was, you know, uh, again, for the end of it, it's fine for it to be happy. I'm okay with that because,
Hmm.
like you say, it's been so much dour. It's nice to
Hmm.
have that.
Sure.
But yeah, it would have been a little more impact, for sure,
Yeah.
if he had just been gone.
You're right.
Yep.
Because I think he
So
he fully went in there expecting to be killed by death. I
yeah,
think he
Yeah.
yeah,
expected to die. Like, but he's that kind of guy where he's like, well, I this is what's right, so I'm gonna go do it. Like, even though
Mhm.
he, has his character flaws, like that's the kind of
Mhm.
like character he is, which, makes him such a underdog to root for and such a, great
Right.
character. Um,
he's a
yeah.
Han Solo kind of character. He
Yeah, or
doesn't
like
want to be involved. He doesn't want to take
right.
part. Like, I'm out of this. This is stuff of the whatever. But
Mhm.
then gets wrapped up into it, rediscovers his
Mhm.
conscience, and just like
Mhm.
kind of fights it, but he just can't not do the right thing
Mhm.
ultimately.
Right.
Right. Right, right, right. I mentioned Lebowski because I just
Mm.
recently rewatched The Big Lebowski for the first time in, I don't know, 10, 15 years, something like that. And so I had that fresh in my mind when I was watching this final season, and it struck me how the similarities, because they talk in that movie about how you guys are familiar with The Big Lebowski, I'm assuming, and most of your viewers are too.
Familiar with,
I
but
am, but John is not.
What? You've never seen it?
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah, we
Oh,
actually
okay.
we actually just talked about this a couple of
yeah.
weeks ago because we were talking about our
Oh.
favorite Julianne Moore movies,
Oh.
and I hadn't
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
the Big Lebowski, just because like her role in it I think is
Yeah.
secondary, obviously. So
Sure.
I'd mentioned other movies, but I was just
She's
saying
great
like
in
it's
that,
such
though.
she is great, and it's such a cult
Hmm.
classic that I had said
Yeah.
I felt guilty for not mentioning it, and then
Sure.
John hit me with this bomb that he had never watched it.
Are you a fan of Jeff Bridges at all, John?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
You have to see it then, man. It's like one of his best movies.
I know.
Oh,
I
okay.
Plus,
know.
Well,
plus
that's
John
put that on your
Goodman.
homework assignment. And John Goodman. Oh, and Steve Buscemi,
Yep. John
Julianne Moore.
Turturro. Yeah.
Yep, John Turturro. Tara Reid's in it briefly,
Randomly. Yeah.
randomly. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Oh,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so good, so good. You got to check it out.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, he was just one of the best. He is
Yeah.
so
His
good.
character in this movie is a secondary character, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, you'll love it. But so this won't make a lot of sense to you, but the dude, he goes by the dude, Lebowski in the movie. Uh, that's kind of how he is. It's like he's kind of a bum, but
Mhm.
when pressed, he feels like he has to do kind of the right thing, and he gets sort of entangled in this whole. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but he's kind of a very like it's similar to Belmont in terms of like just kind of floating around, drinking too
Mhm.
much, making sarcastic comments, and then when it comes down to the wire, he
He's
does
a
what needs to
stand-up
be done.
guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's just
I think it's a good I mean it's a good like archetype because it's easy for everyone to see themselves there. Everybody
Hmm.
wants to think that, well, I do all these things that I know aren't the best,
Hmm.
in my moments of weakness,
Hmm.
am kind of sucky sometimes,
Yep.
but I know that if push came to shove,
Hmm.
I'll do the right thing.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
Yep.
like people hold on to that idea,
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
that so
Yeah,
yeah, it's relatable.
for sure. Yep. Yeah. So that was
Um,
good.
what else? There was one other thing I thought that I kind of didn't like. I guess my list is growing, but otherwise, like they're hard to think about because they do such a good job with the animation in this too.
Mm.
Like when it
Hmm.
matters, some of the
Hmm.
action sequences in here
Mm.
are right up there with some of the best
Yeah.
in anime. I
Hmm.
would argue. Um, I was thinking about how they have to sit and animate that whip, how that's got to be difficult
Oh,
Hmm.
to do.
I love it.
Um,
Hmm.
I love how they managed to get everyone to play to their strengths. It
Mhm.
was
Hmm.
great seeing the group back together, the
I
three of them.
Yes.
I was
That
gonna say
reunion
I
was
love that, and that
everything.
that might be kind of an American thing too, where like it's like, oh, get the gang back together, where they might not
Mhm.
be as common in like in classic anime. I'm not sure, but that certainly felt like a very Americanized thing. But I loved it. I mean, I'm an American, but
Hmm.
when they
Well, and
all kind
we've
of like
we've been
hop back
we've
into
been
the
waiting
castle,
so
awesome.
long. Yeah,
Hmm.
we've been
Hmm.
waiting so
True.
long. Like, I mean, they
Yeah.
separated at the end of
Yep.
season 2. We've
Right.
gone like
Yeah.
whole seasons
Right. Right.
without them together. So like
Yep.
we've been anticipating this
Yep.
reunion for a very long time, and I don't think it
Hmm.
let anybody down at all. You
No.
know,
No.
That was so awesome. That
it
whole
was it,
fight scene
yeah, it
sequence.
was fantastic, and it was like they didn't even miss a beat. They were just like
Hmm.
back together. They were like,
Yep.
this trinity that just like worked off each
Yep.
other so well.
Mhm.
And it was really fun to, watch the multiple battles that they
Mhm.
they, got themselves into.
Yeah.
Um, Even when you knew that they were going to win, when they're
Mhm.
like fighting
Sure.
this, very secondary battle against these three sorcerers on their way to
Mhm.
Saint Germain,
Sure.
you
Yep.
know,
That
you
was
knew you
super
knew the
cool.
whole time that they were gonna win, but it was
Right.
still like the thrill of watching that,
Mhm.
watching not only like the amazing animation and
Mhm.
like the amazing use of, an amazing and inventive use of magic
Mhm.
on screen, but just like watching them together was
Mhm.
something, just as a viewer, just felt like, oh, I've been waiting for this.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm. Mhm.
gripped. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys a question since we're
yeah.
on the subject. So, is there a particular, is there a word for the technique they use? There was a couple moments in, especially like in episode 9, and then I've seen it done in other animes as well, like One Punch Man. I've seen it, but where they will have like in this super intense battle scene, they'll have these couple frames where like you can actually see like the drawing, like they kind of flash it in
Oh,
there.
yeah, like the
Like what?
outline kind of thing.
Yeah, like they did it with Sypha's face
Yep.
towards the
Mm.
end of like the battle sequence in I think episode 9. It just like
Hmm.
blew my mind, and it was
Yeah.
just so cool. But I don't know if that's an actual like animation technique that they throw in there, or because I know it's not just this show. Like I said, what they do
Yeah.
pretty
I don't know
frequently
if
in
there's a
One Punch
name
Man. I feel
for it.
like
Yeah.
so.
Just change when anytime they change the medium,
Mhm.
leaves an
Yeah.
impact. So
Right.
there's that definitely see an anime where they change the medium for when someone's going through some sort of trip or it's really psychedelic or whatever.
Sure. Mhm.
Or yeah, going black and white pencil
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
Hmm.
things. It's just anytime that you can have and it's one of the great benefits of animation that
Mhm.
you can change tone and create an
Mhm.
impact by switching it up like that. I've seen ones where it's
Yeah.
like all of a sudden it's looks like it's chalk or whatever, or you can look at
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
a more,
Yeah.
I think it was Maid Sama is a very it's very
Mm.
Yeah.
different in the way they do it, but all like very there's a couple different versions of the characters. There's the
Mhm.
realistic ones, the ones that are normal. But as soon as
Mhm.
anything silly happens, they're drawn completely differently.
Oh,
They're
sure. Yeah.
really
Mhm.
like gooey faced and
Super
chibi and
cartoonish. Yeah.
cartoony and yeah. And
Yep.
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
that adds to the like understanding of the type of moment we're seeing.
Sure.
And
Yep.
so yeah,
Sure.
when I don't know which moment you're talking to, but I'm guessing, it's with we were talking with Sypha, if it
Mhm.
goes all like pencily and stuff to get
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
harsh and like
Yeah.
yeah,
Or or
I love that
also
thing.
Mhm.
also, I mean, a couple frames in Trevor's final battle with Death.
Mm.
Like there's like a background color, and then there's
Mhm.
like charcoal outlines of some of the
Mhm.
characters. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
there's like this
Mhm.
couple of frames. It actually reminded me, John, of Kill la Kill when we were watching
Mm,
some of that, and you get like that power up battle moment where it's just like so intense that you
Mhm.
yep.
can't you can't realistically draw it, so you're just like giving these like flashes of color to convey this
Yeah.
like intense moment, and then you just have outlines, you
Mhm.
know.
Yep.
It's just so intense, the visible eye can hardly watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we think Kill la Kill is specifically made for like teenage boys? I think maybe perhaps it is. I watched like half of
No.
the first. I watched like half the season a couple months ago, and I have to pick it back up. But
Half
You
the
should pick
season?
it back
Okay.
up. It's
it
amazing.
was it was pretty funny. Yeah, it's just it's kind of
There's
it's definitely kind of a riot, but it's
Yes.
bizarre.
yeah, so what I find very interesting about all of the work that I've seen thus far by that team is that they have these grandiose, insane visuals and
Mhm.
like over the top style that if you like they're never starter animes for someone. They're
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
like you got to be in it. And
Sure.
they do this really nuts stuff and then there's always like a pivot or a turn or there's a deeper meaning
Mhm.
behind everything. And
Mhm.
it's not
Sure.
like, necessarily blow you away or whatever, but it like gives a credibility
Mhm.
to all the over the top stuff, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and like
Mm-hmm.
a weight. And maybe Kill la Kill is the least of that, but
Sure.
Gurren Lagann
Mm-hmm. Yep.
becomes a
Yeah.
I watched
completely
that.
different show halfway through,
Yeah, I agree.
completely
Yep.
different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then let's see, Brand New Animal. It's a little more obvious where they're going with that, but it's the
Mm,
same kind of thing.
okay.
Darling in the Franxx, very again, very like mature themes on
Mm-hmm.
top of like incredibly overt sexual innuendo,
Hmm.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Okay.
I love what they do. I absolutely love what
Sure.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched the whole. I watched all of Gurren Lagann. That was awesome. But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't ever see half Kill la Kill, but that's the only ones I've seen from that like team. So.
Let's see. Uh, I loved one of my favorite things of this season was Hector's turn because I knew like in the
Yeah.
games he's not like this pathetic,
Mhm. Oh,
and like
sure. Right.
really coming into his own more here
Yeah.
and understanding his situation, like kind
Mm-hmm.
of being slap sober, you
Sure.
know? Oh,
Yeah.
not thinking with my penis anymore. Okay, so like then just
Yeah.
and
He
then
was a busy little bee. Like I
yeah,
couldn't believe when he got down to it when he was telling Isaac everything he'd done. I was like, "My
Mm-hmm.
God."
Yeah.
I just,
mhm.
I thought he was
Yeah.
just like
He's
moping around
no.
and
He's
no.
he's like sneaky. He's more sneaky than people give him credit for. I feel like he's
Yeah,
plotting. Yeah. Yeah. That was
clearly.
cool.
That's where if I was coming up with something to do a story on, it would be something with Hector and Isaac.
Hmm. Okay.
Um,
See, this is where like my whole thing comes in from earlier, like Hector and Isaac versus the remaining sisters. Like could have been really interesting because
Mm-hmm.
Isaac started off, you thought he was just like insane and kind of crazy and just like, what are you doing? And then he comes in and he's like
Mm-hmm.
super logical, like I have a new
Yeah.
vision for humanity and we're gonna
Sure.
live beyond,
Yeah.
just today, which vampires keep telling us is all we have. And
Sure.
like could have been really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And now that Hector, like you said, has been slapped sober, tables have turned and he's the one, or he was the one, keeping Lenore captive. Could have been
Mm-hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if that's enough to sustain a whole like a side season.
See,
No,
to
I
me,
don't think so. I
Oh,
think
you
I
just
think you
mean
would
if
have
they had
needed I think you would have needed like something, side plot. Like the same way Castlevania wasn't just about Trevor and Sypha and Alucard.
Mm-hmm.
We had
Mm-hmm.
Hector and Isaac in this
Sure.
whole like
Right.
subplot. You
Right.
would you would definitely need another subplot
Sure.
to sustain it. But I think it
Mm-hmm.
would have been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
It's
be
true.
okay with a season that was about Hector and Isaac, but then also the vampire sisters, but separate. I feel like they're
Oh,
on
okay,
different
okay,
paths, and I'm happy with them being
Mm-hmm.
on different paths. To me,
Sure.
they're beyond like, you know, Isaac is doing his own thing. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
that ends up being, I feel like it's not about seeking out and getting vengeance upon two
Mm-hmm.
vampires that left.
Sure.
And Hector, I feel like
right.
he's beyond that too. And then the sisters, I feel like they're all just done with that situation and
Mm-hmm.
moving on in distinctly different paths. And
Yeah.
I'd love to see the adventures
Well,
that they end up having.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're definitely done now that Lenore killed herself.
Well,
You
right.
know what I mean? Like they could have crossed paths had Lenore lived and maybe figured out that, a way to communicate with Marana and Striga,
Mm,
you know.
mm-hmm.
Like there could have been something there. But yeah, with Lenore, walking into the sun, that's like the last tie that could have been severed. Like
Sure.
Marana and Striga now
Right.
definitely have no reason to go back.
True. Yeah. Well, either way, I mean, I think they're gonna take it in a completely different direction. Um,
Yeah.
and even if the studio doesn't end up doing more like strictly Castlevania, didn't they also do Blood of Zeus? John, was it the same studio that did Castlevania that did Blood of Zeus?
I
Like,
think it's the same, might be the
Mm.
same animation studio.
okay,
I don't think it's the same
Alan.
like writer director.
okay. Well, yeah, that
It's
could be
different.
the animation
The
studio, but
brain behind it is Warren Ellis for Castlevania and stuff,
okay,
and I don't think that he has involvement in Blood of Zeus.
okay. But I guess
Okay.
my point
But
being, if they're going to continue making like quality, sort of like American cartoons, or whatever you call it, anime or not, like I'll be happy.
Sure.
'Cause that season was awesome too,
well, it was the
and
I think
felt
it was the
similar in
director,
tone.
or showrunner or someone is
Mm.
he's going to be doing um what is it? Devil May Cry. So that
Oh,
was
okay,
talked about, and so there was
okay.
some speculation that they were going to use the Infinite Corridor to like cross the worlds. I
Oh,
remember talking about this and not being very excited about that.
oh,
Like
okay.
when something, even though they like divert a lot from story of
Hmm.
Castlevania, it feels Castlevania to me. I feel like it's
Sure.
respectful of
Hmm.
what Castlevania is, and it's easily
Hmm.
recognizable as such. And
Hmm.
so all of a sudden, it'd be weird for them to we're gonna mix together these two video game worlds.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that. But a separate Devil May Cry show could be good.
Yeah.
So if they
Yeah.
do that,
That'd be
yeah.
cool. Okay. Serious question. Could
Mm.
you cut off your own finger with Isaac's little knife?
Oh,
You guys know
Boy.
my
yeah. I
answer,
mean,
but I think I
Boy.
cut my
well,
finger at your
desperate times.
post reception gathering, John, and I was passed out. So I think you know,
Yep.
yeah, my answer
Still
there.
cannot.
But yeah, not so much for me.
I
But
mean, but again, desperate times,
I
you know?
guess be like,
It's
I mean,
do
like,
I
I
horribly
okay,
maim
so
myself or just stay with enslaved to this hot vampire chick?
right, I was gonna say like half of
Probably
it
to
would
stay
be you not
enslaved.
really wanting to cut your finger off.
Right.
Like half would be like you being like blood, no thanks, and
Do
the
I
other half would
want
be
to escape?
like this chick
I
is
don't.
awesome. Like, yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
I really
if
want,
you were enslaved to a less hot vampire chick, like,
Yeah.
what if she was like Jabba the Hutt, and you
I
were
think
that's a
she could
lot
be.
Leia?
less.
I think
That's a
she could be
big
horrible, and I
difference.
could be very desperate. I don't think I could just physiologically make myself do that. I'm
Yeah.
surprised anybody could, to be frank.
I mean, Hector is very cavalier about it.
Yes,
It
he
would probably it
was.
would I would have to like psych myself up a lot more than
No,
Hector did.
Yeah.
right. I'd have to like use like a, I don't know. No, ugh,
Or
so
you
Yeah.
gross.
just, or tell someone else to do it. Can you do it for me? I
Right,
just
Right.
do it
like
for me.
Isaac,
Yeah.
come in there and do it. Like,
Yeah.
He's
I'll
like,
stick
oh, let
out
me
my
just,
finger and you do
yeah.
it.
It was like he was like just like cutting like
Slice of
the
cheese for some
right, just like
cracker. Yeah.
let me just like lop that digit off, no big deal.
Yeah.
Cauterize it with the the
The
heat from the
same
blade.
knife. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's totally
Well,
normal.
it's one of those things, hopefully you'll never have to know.
God,
You'll
Yeah.
never have to
God,
really know.
hopefully not. Yeah,
I mean,
hopefully
people
not.
have, what, sawed their own leg off to get out of stuff or whatever, like
Right? Or
Yeah,
animals
the
do that, people do
guy who
that
that.
cut
dude
off
who,
his own arm
yeah,
in
Yep.
what was
or
it, 127 hours or
yeah,
whatever when he was
Yep.
trapped?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's whoo, yeah. I mean,
I mean,
rats not
compared to
bite their
that, a
own leg
finger
off, right?
seems
If they
not
get
so
stuck.
bad.
Yeah, I guess that guy did it with like a Swiss Army knife or something, and not a freaking
Yeah.
like demonic like sharp blade like
Right.
Isaac has. So
Right.
Well, Phil, I want to see you and Dana for Renfest be
hmm
Hector and
oh,
Lenore.
oof.
There you
Mhm.
go.
All right, yeah, that'd be cool. We could
We
probably
could
rock that.
have a fun Castlevania group going on.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Although I think, aren't we doing Vikings this year, or is that not established?
That was the plan, but I mean, we could be flexible. It could be fun.
All right,
We'll talk.
that'd be cool.
We'll talk.
All right, that sounds good.
What else? Any other big thoughts? I mean, there was a lot happened there. I really
Yes.
didn't think there were much for lulls. They really really moved forward.
Hmm.
I was just very happy to see Alucard pulling himself up.
Yep.
Meeting Greta, they
Mm-hmm.
seem nice together. I like their dynamic.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
was a
wanted
little
to.
interested by where these other quite powerful night like monsters and stuff that were loyal to Dracula yet were coming
Mm-hmm.
from. Like they seem to be against a whole different group.
Right.
I
Right.
I got the impression that the death character had like been
Varney.
like right, but because he's like not like literally like the Grim Reaper, but like this force of like this like a natural like this being. That's kind of how I
Yeah.
understood it. I figured he had control over these other
Mm.
like naturals, like these other like dark naturals in the world that they inhabit.
Sure.
And so assumed he was the mastermind behind like pulling them all there, and the like creepy witches who were sewing together dead body parts and all those things. I
Right.
assumed he was behind all of that. I mean,
Well,
so
he
not Dracula
was.
so much.
Yeah, he clearly was, since, he reveals himself to Saint Germain,
True.
where like
Yeah.
he was the woman, who was like
Right.
bringing him back to the path of alchemy, and then he was
Yep.
like Varney the vampire, like gathering the
Yep.
vampires together. So I
Yep.
just sort of assumed he transformed into whoever he needed to be to convince all these people to get together. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, we as the viewer, and I think probably, the other characters, like, were surprised when he reveals himself as like literally death, because I don't
Right.
think he appeared to everybody as death and was like, come on,
Right.
let's get together.
Right.
I
Right.
think
No. Yeah. No.
he just sort
Right.
of appeared as whoever he needed to be to bring them together.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think then? You mentioned him, and that was one of the more confusing moments to me that I was kind of waiting for the explanation. And
Sure.
ultimately, the larger goals made sense, but I wanted to see what you guys thought of character motivation for Saint Germain and his path, his sort of
Mm-hmm.
descent. Like, how did you feel
Mm-hmm.
about that? Because I
Yeah.
remember him going in the corridor, talking
Mm-hmm.
to this other supposedly other alchemist,
Mm-hmm.
and leaving thinking, well, that's kind of, I don't know, like that seems very
Yeah.
oddly specific that this is the path you must take. And then,
I
Mm-hmm.
agree.
like, I thought that
I
was a
agree.
maybe they needed to, like, something else needed to be the thing
To
that,
push him down that path.
yeah,
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
I more feel like I understood that he was going to undertake a journey that, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of it he would be reunited with his love. He would
Mm-hmm.
need to do whatever he would need to do. But
Mm-hmm.
really didn't understand how, like, he just sort of accepted, like, okay, my path is bringing back Dracula. You know what
yeah,
I
in
mean?
the
Like,
body of like
this
her
Rebus thing.
hermaphroditic body, like
Right.
Yeah.
Erebus. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. That to me was very confusing. It was very specific. It was almost too specific to see how it related. And even with his like speech at the end where he was like, I'm going to bring back, Dracula and Lisa, and they're going to be this Rebus that can control the infinite corridor. It was like, but still how?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And why does that relate to you and finding the woman you love, especially once like death was revealed and death was like, I'm gonna have Dracula go crazy, it's not about the infinite corridor at
Yeah.
all.
Right.
It made a little more sense to me once, because I noticed the ring like that Hector had and stuff
Yes,
put on the
on the
body that they
Rebus.
would
Mm-hmm.
animate. Yeah, and so once I was like, oh, Saint Germain hat. That's, I thought that was connected to someone else. I didn't connect in my head that it was connected with Saint Germain's ring.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So once is like, okay, well, that, I guess so then you bring those two back, they come into this body, they have the ability to control the infinite corridor, and now you have the ability to control them. So there's your
Mhm.
ticket. Um, but so it kind of became clear to me then, but that took a long time to understand
Yeah.
that. And I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
just didn't know if it just seemed like there could have been a more elegant, less complicated way. Because when the alchemist is talking to him, it's like, "Have you forgotten the main?" It's like, did I? I watched all of Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
I don't remember that being the mission. You
Yeah.
know, like the stated goal to maybe there's some alchemy that I'm not a
I
practitioner,
actually
but
looked it
Well,
up
I
though,
looked
and
it up.
apparently that is the ultimate goal of like
Yeah.
alchemy. I looked up
Okay.
Arenas and all
Same.
that. It's like a real thing. I mean, not
Yeah.
So-
'cause-
a real goal.
well, right. Yeah, but no, it's like the stated goal of alchemy.
Right.
Yeah.
so
Because
but
I had to look that
why?
up too, because I was like, what is this?
I forget exactly. I didn't go that deep down the rabbit hole into alchemy, lest like I get flagged on some sort of no-fly list or something. But
DuckDuckGo, VPN.
But yeah, it's something
know,
it's something
don't be
about
signing.
it, like the perfection of creation, like
Right.
is made whole in the rebus, which is like the dual nature, like finally becoming harmonized as one. There's
right.
Sure.
it's very like abstract, of course, because
Mhm.
like how would you do this? And it's there's no like actual thing that you can point to, so it's like I said, it's all very like abstract and very like theoretical.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it is the stated goal of alchemy, like the ultimate goal, but it still didn't quite make sense as Saint Germain's purpose for a long time, and how he just like accepts it as his purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, he
there
struck
needed to
me
be
as
a more tangible, like, I don't know, a tangible goal or a tangible thing for him to follow, for us to follow, to make him make sense.
yeah. He struck me as someone who like decided to go down a path and then like realized maybe this wasn't the best idea, but he
Yeah.
was so
Mhm.
invested and he'd already done so many horrible things. It's like, well, I might as well keep proceeding forward. I mean, until the very end
Yeah.
when he got to the point where he's like, well, okay, I can't do, I gotta, And so
Right.
I'm glad he redeemed himself a little bit. I love Saint Germain. I loved him in season 3. He's one of my favorite new characters.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was a little bummed when he kind of had this descent. So I'm glad he did come around in the end.
Mhm.
And
I
I
am
think it's also like poetic justice that he like didn't he died, so he didn't like get away scot free. He still like
Mhm.
got murdered or whatever, or died in the chaos, but at
Yeah.
least he
yeah.
had a clear conscience when he died. Well,
I
And save
like
Trevor, possibly.
sorry.
Yeah, that's to me that his redemptive thing. He gets
Sorry,
to save
possibly
Trevor.
save Trevor.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
assuming he's the one who like, got him into the
Oh,
infant.
yeah, he
They
did.
show
Yeah,
him like tap his finger, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just like something that you could have like easily missed, or like
yeah,
assumed
Mhm.
yeah.
that
You're right.
something
Yeah.
else happened. So
I
yeah,
I
Alan
still
says
go
played
with
by
the
Bill Nighy. I love it. Such a great
Uh-huh.
character. Played by Bill Nighy. Such a
Oh,
great
yeah.
character actor. I love so much of the casting in Castlevania. I love
Yeah,
the
for
voices.
sure. I am very happy to see James Callis.
Mhm.
Battlestar Galactica is maybe my favorite show ever, and James Callis does a spectacular job in that. So
Yep.
I was just happy to see him in something really good again,
Yep.
even if it's just his voice. I was gonna say I still am holding out that Saint Germain isn't dead and that he is the mad mage magician guy that Isaac
from season 3,
showed
yeah.
in the tower in season 3, because the resemblance is there, the like
Yep.
occupation is there, I can see him like he warped used the infinite
Sure.
corridor to to save Trevor at the last moment.
Yep.
For all we know, he went somewhere too,
Yep.
Could be.
Yep.
and things get timey-wimey, and so
Yeah.
I mean he's dead twice over now on that plane of existence.
Well,
But he
yeah.
spent like countless ages looking for his love and never found her or whatever, and ends up
Yeah.
back on Earth, mad as a hatter.
Yeah. That thought, but
Yeah, that'd be a
Um,
that'd be a
really
fun
feel like
spinoff.
I really feel
Yeah.
like if they had just made this season like a couple extra episodes longer as the
Yeah.
finale for the series, And then they could have, I think, taken a little more time with some of those things, like wrapping up a little bit more nicely, or giving a little more color to like the Isaac and Hector's stories,
Mm-hmm.
and the sisters and the vampires, and like fleshing out a little bit more of Saint Germain's descent and like his motivation and like how that all happened.
Yeah.
Um, but I still think it was awesome. But yeah, if it had been just a couple
Yep.
episodes longer, they could have really done that.
Yeah, I'm very satisfied. I'm happy that we have 4
Hmm.
quality seasons and
Yep.
it's
Mm-hmm.
done. It's wrapped up. It's nice to have that instead of seeing something like just peter out and
Yes, and be
and
sad.
falsely. Yeah. So I yeah, couldn't really be happier.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
anything else? I didn't really look through you guys' notes, so I don't know. But if there is there any other lasting
I
Mm,
did
or
I did
parting
want to
comments
say,
or
because we haven't focused on Alucard too much,
mm-hmm.
other than to
mm,
be happy for him that he finally gets something happy in this season.
yeah.
Because obviously he's gotten a lot of shit over the seasons. But I did want to say also, I think the ending season parallels with him and his father really cool. Because he talks, early on in the season about, oh my God, I'm turning into my father, where he's like alone in his castle. He's drinking way too much. He's putting people out who, either
Mm-hmm.
betray him or visit him. He's like putting them out on stakes as a
Oh,
warning.
right. Yeah.
And then he kind of ends up the season as the good parts of his dad,
Yeah.
like falling in love with a human woman who like
Hmm.
redeems him and makes him care
Hmm.
about life
Sure.
again, and like,
Yep.
taking an interest in the village and like building all of that up. So I
Yep.
thought that was kind of cool that like he was always so afraid about turning into his dad, but then he like turns into the good parts. And then we do
Yeah.
see like the good part of Dracula come back. Even though I agree, John, like we didn't necessarily need to have that extra scene at the end.
Hmm.
It's nice to like see them be the good parts of themselves after, obviously, of course, like literally battling each other and son killing father.
Right.
So
It's to me a little like undermining to the character of Dracula in the
it's a
way
little
that they do
Disney.
that.
It's a little
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he's a
there's a
good dad now.
power.
Visit his son in the
Yeah,
future, and they're gonna, make
or
up and
it
whatnot. But
or it's an anime thing. They do it in anime all the
yeah,
time. You have your villain or whatever, and then turn out to not be such a bad guy, and then they're your
right.
ally.
They just needed the one thing, which like for him was, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
Right.
now,
So
like I'm okay again, and we could travel the world, and it could be adorable, like, our little like
yeah,
travel vlog adventures. But
there's a difference between like having a character that is sympathetic and tragic. Dracula is a tragic character, has a tragic
Mhm.
story, but then you kind of destroy that and he's, besides just being relatable, he's
Mhm.
now like redeemed,
Yeah.
almost. He's seen in a completely different way. And so I think that it fails a little bit in like creating like what's unique about Alucard then as well. Like that
Yeah.
was the potentially amazing thing that comes out of the union of evil and this
Mhm.
human woman. And yeah, I could have done without it. I could have done
Yeah,
without it.
I could have ended with Isaac's speech about, I don't want to bring Dracula back because even when he was there, he seemed tired and sad, and like, he wasn't really in it because he was missing his wife, and like, I've abandoned that idea.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
I
Hmm.
could have ended there and been like,
Yep.
"Yep, I agree," because
Yeah.
season 2 was a lot about him
Like
like
let him rest.
he like spiraled out of control after like the first season was so focused on like I need revenge against the people who killed my wife, and it was so compelling. And then he sort of lost it when he tried
Hmm.
to like
Yep.
take it bigger and tried to, like take over the world and like, show the world like you're going to suffer my pain. And
Hmm.
then, we could have just like left it. But
Yep.
I guess
Yes, indeed.
one thought I had, something I really appreciate about Castlevania is that, I mean, obviously it's like a horror cartoon. It's like based on like
Mhm.
monster themes. But like every season, I feel like they throw in these like scenes or like monologues that are like genuinely horrifying. Like like the
Generally,
scene
what?
where horrifying,
Horrifying.
like
Mm.
for like a cartoon TV show. But like in the season one where they burn Dracula's wife at the stake, that's
Mhm.
horrible, horrible. And then in season three, when you find out that that town, that leader of that town is like sending kids to fall
Yep.
into a pit of like just like
Yes.
horrible, horrible. I mean, it's like cool to see, and it's like cool. It's like everyone likes to be titillated, right? But or like and like
Yeah.
all made up. But this season, I loved what they threw in with the vampire associate of Arnie's. I forget his name.
Ratco.
Ratko, thank you. I thought he was awesome, and like his the change that he went under that he undertook when he like kind of made his real like sort of identity known, and like his monologue and about just like
Mhm.
the things he's done and like the war he's fought, and just like that
Yeah.
was like cold blooded stuff. But it was really cool and really good TV. But that dude's
Yeah.
not messing around at all, and that was bone chilling stuff. It's just really well done.
Yeah, and I thought it was
Yeah.
especially effective, like, he has that whole speech about, like, "I am perfection," "I've
Hmm.
perfected death, and, I am
Hmm.
destruction," and, you know, it was amazing, and then Varney's comeback was so lame, he's like, "Well,
I
I'm
know,
Varney," you know what I mean? Like, he was
right?
just like, "And
Yeah,
I'm the brains here." And then but then it was
right.
so cool because it made you underestimate his character so much that when he was
Yeah,
revealed his death, it was like,
right. Oh,
Yeah.
like, this
yeah,
buffoon is
right.
actually, like, the puppet
It's
master, you
it's
know?
funny thinking back to that scene when he's like seeming so like lame, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that
Yes.
was death the
Yep.
whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and it just becomes, like, this total irony, like, Ratko giving this amazing speech about how he is death, and death
the
is
death.
like,
Yeah.
"Mm."
Actually.
That's
So
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that animation has trouble with it sometimes because I think it's easy for people to, both watching it and making it to get in their head like they still have to like let go of the idea that it's for kids, you know?
mhm,
They still have to like work to throw that aside and to dispel that idea. And
Hmm.
so sometimes things go over the top where it seems it's unnecessary to try to like make that point. And I
mhm,
feel
Sure.
like Castlevania does a pretty good job of just being honest about it.
Hmm.
They don't pull punches, but they
Hmm.
don't do things to like, look, see, we're a cartoon and we can be adult. There's like things
right.
that have that vibe to it.
Right.
Almost like I mean, I guess it's probably a different purpose, but remember, Andrea, we talked about that one cyberpunk anime.
Yes, oh my
What was
gosh.
that called again now? Um,
The movie, yeah.
Night something or
Y
um I can't remember it now, but we
Yep,
we talked about it and it
yep.
was
It was too
like
much.
had some really good things about it. But and I don't think it came from that. I think it came from like, well, we want to, you know, how do we make basically a porn without it actually being a porn,
Yeah.
like kind of thing. But
Sure.
but that kind of thing is done to varying degrees.
Hmm.
I won't say for shock value, just
Hmm.
for the idea that look how
Look,
adult
we're
we can
adults.
be. Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Hmm.
Well, and I think in
So,
Castlevania, I think that may be what they were doing, but maybe it was also showing like I think people do want to show like look how horrible humanity can like,
Mhm.
yeah.
and not
No,
just
that's
in
what I
cartoons,
think.
but in movies sometimes too with people or
Yeah,
TV shows. But like especially in terms of like the priests burning Dracula's wife at the stake, and
right.
in terms of that town head person who's like
The
just
judge, yeah.
murdering kids. Yeah, the judge.
Yeah.
Like, people have been that horrible, like in history, in real life. Serial
Right.
killers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
And
I think we agree that like Castlevania isn't disingenuous in that way. Like
right. Yep.
other anime can be, but Castlevania felt like it fit. It was horrible, but it fit within the world that Castlevania was
Yep.
creating. It didn't feel like over
Sure.
the
Right.
top, like so egregious, like, oh my God, can they just like take it down a notch because this is too
Sure.
much? Like
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
need to
No. It
prove you're an
seemed.
adult
Yeah.
anime.
It fit in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The authenticity really adds to when it allows a creator to do some of these unbelievable stunts and have a show full of with magic and monsters and stuff. But when your characters or there's some relatable situation that is really feels really grounded, it helps with the whole thing. And I've appreciated that from the beginning with this
Mhm.
series that they managed to do that and stay genuine about it. It's like I always use the example. It's silly, but it's one of those things like if you slept in someone's bed and you're naked and you get up in the morning, no one takes the entire sheet to wrap around themselves as they walk someplace. That's a movie thing, so they don't
Sure.
have to show nudity. And
Sure.
it's disingenuous. And so if they don't do that, it's not shock value, it's just real.
Well, it
How
happened
you
in
And I
real
relate.
life.
think that
Right.
I think this anime does that. God,
Sure.
now you have me doing it. This cartoon has me
Animated
doing
series.
it. Yeah, it has me. They do that well here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what else? Anything else? I don't want to leave
Any
anything
stone
out there. If you
unturned.
guys got big thoughts. Obviously, we
So
could. I mean, there's all kinds of things a person could talk about with this. There's
Sure.
a lot of characters.
Yeah.
so
I,
so Chris brought up an interesting point when we were watching, and it
mm,
was something I hadn't really thought of. So I kind of wondered what you guys thought about it. So in episode 9, we're introduced to a night creature that Chris called walking dentures. And it's that
Mm.
oh.
giant one that's like pulling
Oh yeah.
the wagon, and it's
Walking
just
pictures. Yeah.
yeah. So he called it walking dentures. Um, and so besides just like making me laugh, he made me think about like how different night creatures are formed.
Mhm.
Like how we can have this like giant, you know, basically like a giant wrecking ball of a creature. Like once it's released from the shackles, it grows like how many
Mm,
times its size, and it's
mhm,
huge. And we have that, but then we also have like a night creature like the fly that talks
mhm.
to Isaac and, has these deep philosophical
Feel it.
conversations
Yeah.
with him, like eats the berry and is like,
Yeah.
oh, I remember my human life. How do you
Yeah.
th- uh, how do you think like these different night creatures are formed? Like,
Yeah.
is it based on who you were in life, or is it like the
Sure.
forge master who kind of decides like, okay, I'm gonna bring this guy back, but I'm gonna bring him back as like a bruiser, you
Sure.
know. I don't know. It just made me
I
think
get.
about I hadn't
Yeah.
really thought about the
Yeah.
way that night creatures are different.
Sure. Sure. Two thoughts. I agree. Um. I actually don't but although I don't actually necessarily think that all of like Death's army that stormed the castle were necessarily quote unquote night creatures in the conventional sense that we've seen um
Sure.
in the rest of the season. But I will say, even if you just look at night creatures, you can see like kind of like the like
Like lizard
boring
creatures
bat-like
and
ones that are pretty like just
yeah,
animalistic, and
standard.
ones like standard versus like the fly who I love is awesome and it
Mhm.
has like these deep philosophical questions and like flashes of his old life and stuff. And so I agree with you, but then I do wonder like, does Death have a different way to make like monsters, or are there just
Sure.
monsters that
Sure.
exist in the world
Yeah.
separate from like, vampires making them, or like these vampire blacksmiths making them?
Yep. I think that's a distinction that would be interesting to know because I agree that I think there's probably a split between like beasts and monsters and things of this world,
Hmm.
Mhm.
then also creatures that have been unleashed from hell. And then
Sure. Yeah.
also night beasts or whatever that forge masters have, they have turned dead bodies into them, into
Mm-hmm.
creatures. And so I think there's 3 or more set of types of things
Sure.
we're seeing here. But
Sure.
like you say, even if you talk about the ones that we know are specifically Forge Master created, it is interesting how there's such a variety. Like it's
Mhm.
amazing the onslaught of like basically pawns that are going after Carmela, but then there's a
Mhm.
couple like badass ones that are like fighting right. They're like Isaac
Yeah, that
Shield,
one.
the guy that could
Yeah, that
fly,
one.
he's like protect
Yeah.
There's like
like
a horse or
where they're
whatever
like
he
higher
named at one point.
demons,
Yeah. I feel
What's
like the
that?
Forge Master must have some ability to like influence what he's making, because doesn't he like make a horse night creature like when he needs to like hop out of the back of him at one point or something? Like in the
Right,
middle of the battle.
but
Hmm.
like, is it all Forge Master? Is it like, do you have to find the perfect body, or like, is there any influence in like the dead body that you choose to make, the
Yeah,
horse
maybe
creature versus the
like
fly creature?
master swordsman or something is maybe much, or
Yeah.
some sort of gladiator fighter
Yeah.
is potentially becomes a much more impressive
Mhm.
demon night beast
Yeah.
than
Oh right, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me because I hadn't really thought about it before. They were, all just night creatures, and then suddenly we
Yeah.
got this like, wide variety of, how do we get there? And we get to see like Hector literally doing the forging, which we
Mhm.
hadn't seen too much of before. So it's
Sure.
like, what specimen
well
creates what kind of night creature.
everybody keep an eye out for an AMA hosted by Warren Ellis or anyone
Yeah.
involved here, and we can ask them, find
Yeah.
out.
I was impressed though generally with just the um creativity and variety of like crazy murderous creatures they threw at us this
Yes.
season. It was pretty impressive. It was pretty awesome.
Yep.
Yes.
All the
Yeah.
like poisonous things that Alucard had to deal with through the trees
Oh,
and
that was
stuff. And
fun.
Oh right, that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we got to really see a range of Alucard's abilities, and that was
Mhm.
really fun this
Yeah, that
season.
was awesome.
Because of
Mhm.
course before we just saw him like fight his father, which was epic, but I felt like he was hampered in some way. Like,
Yeah,
you're fighting Dracula and it's like this, legendary creature, and now he just gets to like shine on his own in this season.
we really did get a big increase in the variety of monsters because
Yeah.
Yeah.
early on it was all like kind of bat things, it was
Mhm.
similar, the
Yep.
kind of guys that were always coming through. And then
Mhm.
you obviously had vampires that were enemies and
Sure.
stuff.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
then in this, we got to see Sypha and Trevor going through, and they had to deal with like a cult of
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
that
Cool.
were like trying to sacrifice people or whatever. They were
Mhm.
weird. And then there was like, I forget if they're werewolves or something. Like there was all
Yep.
Totally.
different kinds. And then all of a sudden, this whole new army of different people coming after Alucard
Right.
and his people. So yeah, it
Well,
was
and
Yeah.
definitely a mix.
we even got,
Yeah.
different kinds of vampires, like the guy who was like flashing around, the like kind of Nordic
Yes,
looking vampire at
specialty
the end there.
abilities with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun too, Like they just kind of,
Yeah, that
said like,
mhm.
let's see what we can do with all of these creatures. Like what can they do, and what can we showcase? And it was really fun.
So what's everybody's favorite battle? Because that penultimate battle there with the kind of different vampires we hadn't seen with their unique abilities, where the
Mhm.
trios back together, that was really good.
Yeah.
But then the Carmela versus Isaac was very
Oh,
good.
so
Mhm.
great.
But then Trevor versus Death is very good. Like,
Yeah.
anybody have a favorite?
Yeah, if we're talking this season, I think the trio together was my favorite. If we're talking overall, I think season 3, Trevor's final battle, um, that's my favorite.
It
Who's
was
he
very
with?
well done. Yeah.
Who's he fighting in that in season 3?
It's
Well,
like,
it was the
Oh, with
beast
like
that
the
was let
beast. Yeah.
yeah,
loose, and that the church was like
yeah,
the
Yeah.
bringing
Yeah.
and controlling, and
because that
Sypha
was,
was in there too. Him.
but it
These
was it was just
episodes
my
are so
favorite for like
packed and
the
so
whip.
watchable. Sure.
Hmm.
like the animation of the whip and like everything he could do, and it was just so like you could never do this in a live action show because the whip could not change like 60 different lengths in this amount of time, and like
Sure.
sometimes be like seem like it's metal and like got the chain on it, and sometimes seem like a regular whip, and I don't know.
Well, he's
It just
got two.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the best part in season 3 when
Well,
it's
and like
like regular
you
whip, and then
can't
he pulls out the
distinguish.
like
Yeah.
Morningstar whip kind of thing, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, dual whipping now.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my favorite battle of all time.
Yeah, I think I liked the battle, his battle with Death, just because it was such like
Sure.
just because the meaning behind it, and then like the
Yeah. Yeah.
what he went to do, and um, but I mean the reunion battle too in the castle was awesome for different reasons, and I loved how they had to like it's so like kind of a video game, right? Where I mean, which is it's his roots, so it makes sense.
Right.
But like where they mop up the castle, and then like, oh, we gotta hit these last like final bosses before we get to the real final boss. So you
Yeah.
have to go fight these, like sorcerer vampires. That was sweet. I mean, I don't know. It just
Yeah.
like kind of built and built and built all through episode 9, man.
Yeah.
I
I
take back all
love
my
the-
teasing of you, Phil, because episode 9 was absolutely as epic as you said it was.
Yep.
Feels so satisfied right now. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of need to watch it again. I'd like to watch that battle again you were talking about in season 3, and then watch
Mhm.
this because felt like there was a difference in sound quality from
Mhm.
season to season, and I don't know if that was just like this. I don't know the frame of mind I was in, if I'm imagining it or something like that. But I'd like to compare because I feel like the
Sure.
sound was a lot more dynamic in season 3 than
Mhm.
4 when things got a little more flat. So just a technical thing that I
Okay.
don't want to say for sure, but I'd like to
Sure.
go back and try to listen again.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I remember when we were initially talking about it, I said like the soundtrack, it felt like the soundtrack to the final boss battle. You know what I mean? Like the background music was just like so a part
yeah.
of the battle itself.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'd be interested to go back and watch that scene
One of the
versus, this one.
Yeah, one of the coolest parts of season 3 that they didn't really do in season 4, I think, is they like that last final kind of battle. They had like the battle going on, and then they had like, Alucard,
Oh yeah, the
with
juxtaposition.
the twins,
Oh
and they
yeah.
were like
And Lenore and
montaging it
Hector,
all
and yeah.
together. Yeah, that was really cool, and I think it was pretty
Yeah.
unique just to like the end of that season. But it was
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
totally cool, this one, but it's okay.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we've had a pretty good time here. 2 hours something.
Yeah.
So thanks for hanging in there with us, Phil.
Oh yeah, of course. I love talking to you.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure Castlevania is going to come up again on the podcast in one fashion or another. It's too many things to talk about all at once here. And you mentioned before that you're watching One Punch Man, so we're gonna have
Mhm.
to get to that sometime.
Yeah,
I'm
for
in the
sure.
middle of Love, Death, and Robots yet.
Ooh, I didn't
That's
watch
another
that too.
pretty craziness,
Yeah.
for sure. So, well, thank you to Phil for jumping in and talking with us. Andrea is here as always. I'm here as always. This has been Popcast on the Rocks, episode 61. Everybody, you should go to our Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all those things. Follow, like, share, that sort of thing. If you like these things, like we like these things, someone else likes these things. So, yeah, share it out. Let us know what you think. Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. You can find them on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. Often I am found playing with my brother-in-law, Lucas333. That's Lucas with a K. On Twitch, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I haven't been able to partake this week, but hopefully in weeks going ahead. So give him a follow, subscribe, that kind of thing. And I think that'll do it from us. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Phil, and cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys.